where Chavez Jr. has been stopped, he stopped it himself, telling his corner that he's hurt and can't continue.
You see Jacobs there apologizing for the headbutt. Chavez went to the corner. He didn't sit down. Freddie Roach was standing up. They had the explanation, and we're not sure exactly what. Chris, you thought he heard him saying about his hand?
And look, the fans now are throwing things into the ring in the direction of Julio Cesar Chavez Jr.
Immense disappointment. Julio Cesar Chavez himself, stuff is flying over our heads as well, coming in from the crowd. I don't know, are they upset that he quit? Or are they upset with the referee? Because the referee did not want to stop the fight.
No, I think they're upset that he quit.
They're upset that he quit. He resigned, he gave up, whatever you want to say. That's what they're upset of, because a Mexican warrior fights till the end. And that's the second time he resigned in the corner on his own.
And now what do they expect when they come to his fights? They might get something, but again, we know the track record. We know what happened. Things are being thrown into the ring. It's not especially dangerous now. It's just a bit of a mess. Couple of knuckleheads in the crowd throwing things in there. Hey, you know what? Expect it. What if the guy ended up and he did break his hand? You're going to blame him for that? I know what you're saying. He retired, right? He doesn't want to continue to fight. But if his hand is broken, if there's a fracture, well, what do you want from him? Well, we don't know just yet.
Well, he has a proven track record of a lot of things, and from far stopped him, and it was a knee injury that he claimed. This time it's a hand injury. Yes, give him the benefit of the doubt, but that's the second time that he doesn't want to continue a fight while hurt.
That's Mickey Rourke in the corner now, coming in as it gets more surreal. Big crowd, you see some of the sodas being thrown into the ring.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the 354th edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. I'm your host Steve Wellings, and joining me on the call we have Ozzy Smith and Andy Patterson. Good evening to the guys, everybody in the chat as well. Good to see you filling up there. We are usually here on a Sunday evening, on a Monday this week. Mixler, YouTube, Soundcloud, iTunes, you can find us in all the usual places. We'll be going for as long as we can. Not sure if anybody else is going to jump on or not, but if you want to join us, if you're in the chat, hit me up. WhatsApp, Skype, whatever you've got, we'll give you a ring if you want to come on. Guests and listeners are always welcome. Let's get on first of all with Jamel Charlo versus Tony Harrison Part 2. I enjoyed this fight. I thought this was absolutely excellent fight. Really did enjoy it. Harrison was tight. He was compact. He was defensively responsible for most of the evening. And he blocked a lot of Charlo's shots, and he landed some really nice shots of his own at times, I thought. He possibly could have been ahead going into the 11th round, but Charlo, he was fitter, he was stronger, he knew he could hurt his man right from that second round. And for Harrison, Andy, the chin and the stamina once again are what is called into question. Was it a case of the same old failings coming back to haunt Tony Harrison?
I think to a point, mate. First of all, it was a really good card, actually, probably the card of the week. PBC, no many people will say that probably, but I think we need to say it's probably in the card of the week. Harrison, I know was pulling for him quite hard last week and stuff because of the stuff that Charlo spoke about in the past, and maybe Harrison overdid it a wee bit, maybe took his eye off the ball, just kind of like more intent and kind of trolling Charlo into kind of doing what he did, and that was kind of like overcommitting with his power shots. He wasn't really kind of setting things up, Charlo, I thought, but to be honest, when he did connect, he was causing Harrison, a lot of problems. Did shake him, obviously had him down early in the fight. Was it round 2 or round 3? I think it was. But I did think Harrison kind of then got his foothold in the fight. He was he was tight. He was defensively responsible. He was really kind of keeping, especially both hands up and stuff. I just thought he was doing a really good. I just think it was one of the type of performances that if he had a wee bit more power to his shots, it might have been totally different, because Charlo was, to me, he was a wee bit like kind of Wilder, just kind of sat back, kind of waiting for his shots, just knowing that if he could unload, he was going to basically hurt him, and that's what's happened in the end. I don't know about the gas tank and stuff. I'm going to say that Harrison just got sloppy in the moment in his defence, and he's just got done. And that's it, because it was a beautiful left hook. I think it was a right hand, and he came in with kind of left hook, and then kind of straightened it right at the point of connection. Beautiful shot, and he just never really recovered from that point on. So both have now given each other their dues after dogging each other, so to speak, during the build up. So there's a wee bit of respect now back as well. And to be honest, I want to see them into a third fight straight away. I didn't want them taking up any L's and any other problems kind of kicking up in the future. These two guys are meant for each other, outside the ring and inside it, I think. So I think we should get the third fight on as soon as possible.
Yeah, quite a few people are mentioning about the third fight. Didn't cross my mind initially. I think Harrison, I remember watching him live against Sergei Rabchenko in New York a few years ago, and he's a very skilled fighter, very fast, but he always has those deficiencies. There weren't really any power shots from him. He was in and out, very amateurish, bop combinations, catching Charlo with a fair few shots, but Charlo was fit. Through the middle of the fight, the gas tank was slowing down. That was a lot to do, I felt, with Charlo putting a lot of energy into the power shots early on, and Harrison was digging the body, stopped digging the body as the fight went on, and I think that was to his detriment because that was working for him. Charlo, he was brooding Ozzy, he was intense, he was waiting for his chance, and he knew from that second round, as I said with Andy, that he could hurt Harrison. What about Jack Reese then? What about the stoppage? I thought it was a fair enough stoppage for Reese, but he found as if he could have stopped him earlier, and when he actually did stop him, Harrison seemed like he was slightly recovering. Is this a competent professional referee, or is he a bit of a celebrity referee at times?
It can be a bit of both, to be honest. I mean, we've seen him pull off some fair stoppages and some not so good ones. I mean, I agree with what you're saying about how had he stopped it, essentially seconds before, which doesn't seem, but is a long time in the situation, then it would have been fine. But then, like I say, just a slight delay, and then they come in, and then Harrison, it did look like he was clearing. That saying, I'm not gonna look at it and think, that was an absolute disastrous stoppage like we've seen, like Ian John Lewis come in before. So I'm not saying that was, like we're looking back and think Harrison was robbed, of an opportunity, because I certainly don't think and I've seen some people criticise the stoppage. I've seen other people agree with it. So I think that shows that when you're getting a mixed bag from either side, it was relatively fair. But the fight itself was excellent, brilliant, probably one of my favourite fights of the year. It looked like I wasn't scoring it, but it looked like I felt it was relatively close. Probably edging towards Charlo, but still, I thought it was a close fight. And then he exploded. He landed that huge left hook, and that was it for Harrison. But Andy's right. These two styles just gel. They're made for each other. And I think a third fight is a must. We're not talking, last week, a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about, like a Joshua Ruiz, and we don't want to see that third fight because the second fight was such a non-event. This second fight was an event. It's now 1-1, and I think the third fight is a must for both fighters. It'll certainly put bums on seats. It's worked. It's worked the first time. It worked even better the second time, and I've no doubt that the third had definitely produced the goods as well.
Just before we look at their careers going forward, assuming they don't fight again against each other, Andy, what about Tony Harrison's strategy? Do you think he got it right or wrong? He came forward for most of the night. Should he have let Charlo lead and try and counter, as it worked for him in the first fight, or did his game plan work well enough, aside from this seemingly unfixable physical limitations that he had? I felt that it was working, but at the end he just got caught with a shot and couldn't recover.
That's it, basically in a nutshell for me. He did absolutely fantastic. End of the day is, even J-Rock Williams was saying that he thought the rematch was going to be like the first fight, was going to be boring. I said, the first fight wasn't great, but even, that shows that that's a unified champ. J-Rock Williams, by when he's getting it wrong, he thought it was going to be Harrison by points and a boring decision. Well, he comes out and he puts on a performance, goes out on the front foot after getting dropped. As I say, Charlo kind of made it hard, heavy weather for himself. As I say, he wasn't setting up his shots. He was very emotionally kind of set for the fight. As I say, it's just the type of fighter he is, I suppose, and he's just loading up, looking to hurt the guy. I think he was spot on with his tactics. And as I say, any other night, he probably would have done the business. Okay, the scorecards are looking. He was probably going to lose it, and obviously if he only took the second knockdown, like in the 11th round, and survived, he was going to lose it on points anyway. But it was a hell of a fight. It was a great fight, and again we could point and wax lyrical about the scorecards and stuff. I just think it was a fantastic shot by Charlo in the 11th round, and obviously followed it up and got the stoppage in the end. I think there was, to be honest, I think the commentators were way off base in that, because if you look at the Efe Ajagba fight when he got dropped, they were like, oh, should he be thinking that fight should have been stopped? Whereas in contrast, it says that fight was stopped, far too soon. I don't know, because it says I thought Harrison was badly hurt after that second knockdown in the 11th, and then obviously he was kind of shaky legs and that. I think the stoppage was fair, and I think Jack Reese done done a fair job, because any other fighter could have been stopped at that point. Give the champ the respect anyway, put it that way.
Absolutely. Lee the Alcoholic Fotch in the chat says, I absolutely love how he doesn't let guys quit by getting up at 9.5 and then complaining they were stopped too quickly. You could just imagine Jack Reese coming on the scene, can't you? Well, Errol Spence got out the car, Jack Reese appears on the scene, first officer. Right, Errol, walk to me, walk to the left, walk to the right. Let's see.
You've been taking bad bits, Errol.
Oh god, yeah, Jack Reese. Yeah, he done a good job. I think he does like the limelight, but he is a very competent, solid referee. So let's look at 154 then, Ozzy. The Charlo was being groomed towards a future pay-per-view, I think possibly against Jarrett Hurd. Both of them got picked off in respective fights, one by Julian Williams, one by Harrison the first time. I'm not saying Charlo won't make it to pay-per-view eventually. There's a good possibility he might do. As for Julian Williams, I think he might have his hands full in this next fight. This defence he's making against this guy, what do you call him? Jason Rosario, 19-1-1, bit of a puncher, 24 years of age, coming down from middleweight. He's on a good run of victories, although he did go a split with Jorge Cota, who I think one of the Charlos absolutely banjoed a few fights ago, and he has been knocked out by Nathaniel Gallimore, so I'm sort of going back on myself here, but I think he's going to go for Williams, and that might be a bit of a shootout, and we'll see whose chin holds up against the other guy's power. So anyway, I think Rosario against Williams isn't a foregone conclusion. We can probably agree Williams is the main man at the weight. You've got Jarrett Hurd still knocking about. Erickson Lubin's back on the rise again. Erislandy Lara, Charlo obviously, Brian Castano. I think he's going the WBO route. He's number one contender for Patrick Teixeira, who upset that Adamez. There's also talk, Ozzy, just to throw something else into the mix, of Terence Crawford possibly moving up to light middleweight. And you know exactly where he's going to be going, the Warren and Bob organisation, going for the WBO, possibly against Teixeira himself. So there's a lot of interest to be had at junior middleweight. Where do you see Charlo going next?
Crawford's definitely not going up in 154, 100%.
Yeah, I'm with Andy. I don't see Crawford going up at all. I think we can rule that out pretty much straight up. I don't think Crawford wants to go up to 154 yet. I think he knows he's got unfinished business at 147. In terms of Charlo next up, a rematch generally wouldn't shock me. You can pretty much rule out the Williams fight next up. Jarrett Hurd has got a fight lined up, which is certainly a lesser opponent from who he's been boxing recently, but in Santana. But I'm not gonna slate him for that, because he's fought a hell of a lot of decent fighters in his past 4 or 5 fights, excluding the Wellborn fight. So I think, considering he's coming off a loss, I'm not going to slate Hurd for coming back in against Santana, because I've no doubt he'll then probably jump straight back up to the top as well. A rematch again wouldn't shock me, because then if you're going down the list, Munguia's obviously gone up to 160. I can't see him fighting Erislandy Lara. Williams is tied up, Hurd's tied up, Castano's going another route, Jesse Vargas is fighting Mikey Garcia. You've got that Spaniard, Sergio Garcia. Could he be plucked from an opportunity now, potentially? I think he's the European champion. It pains me to say it, but you've got Liam Smith knocking around at 154 as well. I know he was talking about he wants to fight with that Patrick Teixeira as well. There's a lot of fighters there, but then in reality, I think if you're looking at opponents, it's quite difficult to pick, really. Austin Trout's going down to 147 now, so that's in the 154 rankings. Do we see someone like an Erickson Lubin? I'm not too sure. It's a difficult one, really. I mean, you're going through all of these names now, and the one that stands out, and the one that you want to see again, is a Harrison rematch. Aside from that, then you probably champion any sort of unification possible. Oh, no chance for Kelbrook. Absolutely.
If he smashes Mark DeLuca and all that sort of stuff, Anthony Fowler ranked 13th with WBA.
Fowler, I know.
James Metcalf, number 8 with IBF. Sam Eggington, number 6 with IBF.
Well, yeah, but I can't see it. Yeah, I can't. Not saying that, but we've seen it. Like random English fighters plucked from obscurity. I mean, you've got
Viking Boots getting a shot at a title. Yeah, that just shows you. At one point or another, you're going to get a shot.
Well, you've got Luke Keeler fighting Andrade up at 160. You had, like I said, Jason Wellborn got a shot at 154. So maybe Charlo may want a soft touch next, and then, it isn't inexcusable to think, they randomly pluck like a James Metcalf out of thin air because, one, he's ranked, and then two, it's a cheap do from where, in reality, Charlo would run out a real convincing winner. So it's not unheard of, these random Brits to get odd opportunities. It'd be extremely disappointing. I can't remember what situation's Michel Soro at now. Did he lose his last fight or not? Or did he win? I can't remember.
He beat Cedric V2, didn't he?
Is that what it was? Yeah. Was that? I think it was quite a brutal knockout. That, from memory, I can't remember.
It was a late knockout, I think.
I think it was. Yeah. So look, there's a chance, that he could be called upon. 35-2. Obviously, I think
Mohamed Rabi as well. That's Ben Davison's fighter.
Someone like that. So there's certainly opportunities, but I genuinely think at the moment it's quite difficult, to say which, basically where Charlo will head next. Like I said, there's no glaringly obvious fights that will be made next.
Jarrett Hurd's still going to be comparing at 154 as well, and that's a PBC fighter. So
who? Sorry,
Jarrett Hurd.
Yeah, but he's got a fight lined up already against Francisco Santana. So I'm going.
That's a takeover fight. I mean, Santana's the great shakes.
Yeah, but I mean, depending on how active Charlo wants to be, if he wants to get out relatively early, the Hurd fight next is probably not realistic to make. That's why I'm saying, when you say it, Andy, and you pull out, like your Eggingtons and things like that, then if Charlo is going to have his, say like a keep busy tick over soft defence, then going into like a Hurd fight, then in reality, it's not inexcusable to think that whatsoever.
Yeah.
Looking down the undercard, gentlemen, it was a very good show. From what I saw of it, I actually enjoyed it. Andre Durrell got a knockout win. Hugo Centeno, didn't see that. Jack Tapora, 23-0, got knocked out in the first round by Escandon. Excellent body shot. Escandon, though, he was brought in as fodder. He was heavy. He's been knocked out multiple times before. This was not supposed to happen. Tapora's level has probably been exposed. Carlos Balderas as well. He wasn't really exciting me. He wasn't setting the world alight, so I'm not surprised to see him getting knocked out by this Rene Giron the first time he stepped up. And don't forget, Balderas was preferred in the Olympics, was it 16, to Teofimo Lopez, so you can see where their respective careers are going. Tell me about F.A. Jagba, Andy. I'd already jumped off the train after the Demirezian and Valish fights. I think, I'm not saying he's a big stiff dosser, the guy's just learning his trade, but he's a hell of a long way off the big title shots. But I suppose at the end of the day, you might as well learn your trade and get knocked out by the Iago Kaladzis of this world whenever you're 11-0, and rather than going like Michael Grant in against Lennox Lewis and getting completely exposed on the big stage. But he does look a little bit stiff and a little bit easy to hit.
He is definitely easy to hit. I mean, I forget what he got dropped again, a right hand, but fair play to Kaladze as well. I mean, he hung in there for as long as he could, put his balls out in the line and stuff. And usually Yankee, but names like Kaladze and that, these Georgians, they're in his fodder. But he was in shaky legs for a good portion of that fight, and he still managed to kind of give Jagba a big fright. Definitely is stiff. Needs to kind of definitely work on some tools and that. Maybe speak to like Lennox Lewis and that as well. But massive work in progress and that. So I think he'll be brought along softly. I just want to mention, Steve, if I can, about the Jack Tapora fight. That was an absolute shock, man. I mean, Escandon, I think, has been stopped in his last 3 fights going into that. So form's poor. But Jack Tapora, I mean, undefeated or no, I mean, he was touted as one of the big prospects coming out of the Philippines. But there's been rumours going about, I'm sure I read in Asian Boxing a couple of months back that there's been issues like his training habits or his weight, the lifestyle.
Didn't he fail to make weight or something? Yeah.
He missed weight in one of the fights and that as well, and there's been question marks about how he's taking it seriously and that. So maybe this is either going to be a wake up, or it's just going to be a downward spiral for him. But yeah, that's I think he was highly ranked, mandatory position spot possibly. I think. But no, that was an absolute shock to get ice in one round like that. I mean, that guy that Escandon and that. I mean, as I say, I think he's lost his last 3 fights by stoppage. He has mixed run about, decent, competition. We're talking like Sermanos and Moses Flores. He was an okay fighter and that, a big tall guy that I think Nietes knocked him out. But no, that was an absolute shocker, and that is a big road back now for him, especially if he's not living the life properly.
Yeah, there's definitely something wrong with Topuria. He was a super bantam in 17, then he moved up and had one fight in 18 at featherweight, won that bullshit interim WBA title, and then he lost the title on the scales, and he hasn't looked the same since, and going down to a body shot against someone like Iskandar, and he's up in weight again now as well, to super featherweight. I just don't think it's going to happen for Topuria. I don't think he's going to be any great shakes, unfortunately. It just goes to show they can get you to 23-0, and you haven't really fought anybody, and you're not really that good, so he's definitely not living the life. Ozzy, you're definitely living the life over there. Tell me about the undercard from your perspective. Anything that caught your eye?
Yeah, the big heavyweight fight was fun. Just showed how, like in a split second it can change, because Kaladze took a huge shot, legs seemingly gone from under him, and look, I've seen fights stop like that before, where fighters are vulnerable and the one big shot away, and I thought it was a bit of an experience there from a Jagba, like he just didn't jump all over Kaladze. Next thing, he's on the deck, and it was a heavy knockdown as well. That's saying he responded well. Look, there's loads of flaws about him, but there's a lot of things to like about him as well. He's vulnerable, he's big, he's strong, he can punch, and he's always going to be in exciting fights. He's also a highlight knockout waiting to happen as well. Big, upright, can get caught front on, and we saw it already. Kaladze hurt him badly. I think you're going to see, basically, as he steps up, I think it could be a lot more difficult, when he gets into top 15 territory, like fighting people that are a hell of a lot better than Kaladze. And as we say, he could well suffer as well. And yeah, Topuria, it was certainly a shock, but we've seen it all before, that when you're pissing around at the weights and, you're eating loads of food and, missing weight and things like that, you will get found out, and he seemingly was. And as you say, that it's not a sport where you can't live the life. You've got to take it serious. This guy's not, and he got stopped, and in reality he'll soon be forgotten if he keeps dicking around at all the weights.
Yeah, maybe they'll stick him in with somebody like a Helenius soon. They were mentioning Dominic Breazeale, but I don't think he's even at that level yet. It could be, De Hapas is being mentioned for Daniel Dubois, who we'll speak about soon. Gerald Washington, possibly somebody like that. Kovnaki's being lined up for Wilder, as and when Wilder gets past Fury, then there's supposed to be a rematch. The heavyweight division's all over the place, but the PBC have plenty of fighters, so I'm sure Tom Brown and Al Heyman and then will be able to find an opponent for him. Maybe would you be looking for Gerald Washington, Ozzy, or would Helenius probably be more your cup of tea now for a Jagba?
Yeah, I think you've got to remember. I think we've got to look at the situation he's in, and that I think all too often in this day and age that people want to see, particularly at the heavyweight stage, they want to see him step up very quick. And I think when you're on the scene and things like that, you don't have the opportunity to learn. So I think someone like a Helenius, despite him, I think he bloody hell, Gerald Washington stopped him last time. So to be fair, I think I'd rather see a Gerald Washington fight first, because that's someone who's coming off a decent win, hell of a stoppage, and look, he's not great himself, but he has the power to cause problems, particularly against someone who's as raw as a Jagba. I mean, yeah, I think I know Breazeale's coming off that that huge knockout, and you don't know what that took away from him. But that would be, I think at the moment, in my opinion, it'd be too much of a step up. Someone like De Hapas, yeah, I can accept that. Marius Wack, again, I can accept that. Spilker, yeah, maybe not too sure. Marco Hooks just pulled out the Joe Joyce fight. Definitely don't want to see him in with Eric Molina. Maybe someone like a Bryant Jennings. Again, might be a bit too big of a step up at the moment, but again, it certainly asks the questions. And even big Chris Arreola, again. I think it just depends how much they rate him, and whether this fight maybe just slows them down a touch. I mean, in reality, I think a lot of people. I mean, look, and he ended up coming through with relative ease, but he did hit the deck, and I think that was a worrying point. Does that put them off from matching him stronger next time? Possibly, but there's enough fighters that can carry some weight at a name that they can pick next. As we've just said then, someone like a Gerald Washington or someone like that, I think it'd be a decent step up.
Ozzy, will be coming to you and Dubois very shortly, because I know you have to go. Yep. Just before we do so, rapping Rob Kelly is on the line. Good evening, Robert. How are you?
What's the crack? You go back to Ozzy there, Steve, and I'll come back to you, dude.
No problem at all, Rob. Rob has spoken. He's on with me, Andy and Ozzy. Episode 354. Good to have a bit of rapping, Rob Kelly. Tell me about Daniel Dubois, then. Ozzy, on against Fujimoto. You called it last week. Second round knockout win for Dubois. Wasn't really tested. The shite before Christmas, I think you could probably call this one. He took a ranking. He took a few quid home for Christmas. What more can we gauge out of this performance?
Nothing, really. Just the fact that he's a must-watch fighter. He has legit power. I think that's fair to say. He is improving, although we've had enough of these sort of opponents with Daniel Dubois now. It was a poor opponent. There was some method behind it. The WBA just hadn't ranked him at the moment. I think this guy was ranked 12 or 13. So it gets him a ranking. That's as far as you can say. As you say, it was another run out before Christmas. I think it was his 5th fight this year. It's great to see someone like Dubois fighting 5 times a year. He's picked up a British title, a Commonwealth title. Obviously, highlight wins probably Nathan Gorman. Decent win over Cajano at the start of the year, and then obviously the Richard Lartey fight was fun. I think Lartey exceeded expectations, and then your last two in Ebenezer Tete and Kayotaro Fujimoto are poor, to be honest. Very poor. So I think early next year, I think the fight we all want to see is the Joe Joyce fight. I think that's an absolute must. I know that the Dubois camp want that fight. They wanted that fight earlier this year. It's whether the Joe Joyce team want it, because it's all right saying you want it, but then when you start asking for huge sums of cash, unrealistic cash, that's when it starts becoming a problem. So I was having to think before, actually, about potential names. I think you can't put all your eggs in one basket when it comes to, fighting Joe Joyce, because, look, I think a brutal defeat for Joe Joyce, which I think Dubois would go straight through Joyce, and that's pretty much goodbye. He's at the age now where it would be difficult for him to come back. So I was thinking of some other fighters, and I actually had Gerald Washington on there for Daniel Dubois. I had Christian Hammer.
DeHappas, I heard.
DeHappas is another one that I think could be. It's not, like the star-studded opponent that you'd want, but it's certainly a test, and DeHappas can take a shot. And it's not ideal, but I wouldn't be absurd to seeing him in with someone like Marius Wack. Wack can take a shot, and it will just. We saw when Kevin Johnson was there. And I know it was a little while ago now, but Dubois became, a bit predictable. And it would be good to see that, basically, if Wack can take, his early shots, whether he'd adjust and things like that. And, just to see that if he's got the ability to vary things up, rather than just the big right hand, which then wipes out a lot of his opponents. I'm not saying it'd be a great opponent, but there would be some reasoning behind it. And to be fair as well, Wack gave Dillian White an half-decent fight last time out in Saudi Arabia. Again, he'd be at the bottom of a list, but I would rather see
Dubois showed against Nathan Gorman that he can vary it up to some degree.
Yeah, definitely. And that'd be one that'd be great in terms of, that he's shown he can learn there. And that's one thing Dubois is doing. He's learning. There's no bullshit with him. He aspires, like I saw in an interview today online, that he wants to be, basically, he wants people to fear him like they did Mike Tyson, with the power. And it's something like, it's quite good you hear that he's aspiring, to be this brutal, like knockout artist, and he wants people to fear him. So, as I say, he's had a good year. He's picked up 2 respected domestic titles, and now it's time for the next stage. It's going to be difficult to match him because people are going to want absurd money. But there will be fighters out there that'll be willing to get in the ring with him. And I'll be looking at a Christian Hammer, Johan DeHappas, Gerald Washington, Marius Wack, someone like that, which then, and obviously Joe Joyce is your number 1 pick. But if that can't be,
his fight is off. His fight is off, isn't it, against Hook?
Yeah. So Hook's got a hand injury, which is a shame, because I thought that would have been a decent fight for Joyce. Obviously, an opportunity to pick up the European title. That's now off. So I'd love to see that, like basically the manager, all the teams come together and they work hard to try and make that fight, because what a start that'd be for 2020. huge domestic fight, one that a lot of people want to see, and I think it'd be another emphatic win for Dubois personally.
Gives a quick undercard rundown then. Aussie Liam Williams dealt with Atlanta's Fox exactly the way you're supposed to deal with people like that. Sonny Edwards had to get off the canvas to beat Marcel Braithwaite. I forgot all about Archie Sharp and turned it off, so I couldn't tell you a thing about that. Denzel Bentley won in the second round, which is impressive. And Tommy Fury fought against a guy who really needs his pulse checked, because I don't even know if he was alive in there.
Yeah, well, look, I feel sorry for Tommy Fury in a way, because look, you've got to remember he's 2-0. And he's in the limelight now. Look, he was in the limelight when he came in because naturally of being Tyson Fury's brother, I think it is. But even more so after all that, like basically being non-stop on terrestrial TV for the summer, he's come back, and they were always going to chuck him high up on the card because he's an attraction now to people. Like he's had all that exposure, and as you say, he brings in a new set of people who want to watch him. I mean, my sister said, did you watch Tommy Fury fight on last night? I'm thinking, what the hell are you on about? Like, I was absolutely amazed that she was even aware of that. But it shows, like it is a market that, and people watched it. That's saying his opponent was an absolute awful. A pig would have put up a better fight than he did. It was an embarrassment. But no, I was a bit underwhelmed by the undercard personally. I mean, I've no time for people like like that Art Johns Ravlav to Archie Sharp for. I just don't see a point. You've got Archie Sharp calling out like world title holders, and then he's going in with people like that. No, I'm not interested. Sonny Edwards, Marcel Braithwaite was decent. I didn't think Edwards looked great at the weight, to be honest, the day before. It makes sense now that basically he had buckled hands going into the fight. And
he looked terrible, didn't he? He looked like Ryan Bennett on heroin.
He looked horrendous. But apparently he had very limited sparring because his hands were knackered and he just didn't want to pull out the fight. So obviously with situations like that, like you essentially you're just training to make weight, becomes more difficult. You can't hone your skills. There's talk of a rematch, more so I wouldn't be absurd seeing that, to be honest, early next year. And as for Liam Williams, he continues to impress. He's gone up to 160 and he lives up to his nickname. He's a machine. He was excellent again. He destroyed that Atlantis Fox. By no means the best opponent, but you've got to remember this was a final eliminator for the WBO world title, so you've got to take it. He passed through with flying colours, and I genuinely believe he will cause Demetrius Andrade problems, without a doubt. His power seems very impressive. He can box as well. I had him beating Liam Smith in the second fight, and I had him ahead in the first fight before that gruesome cut on the eye. So the wins, like it's not as if he was outclassed in those. As I say, he's gone up a weight. He's clearly thriving under Dominic Ingle, who I think is a very good trainer. And we know what the situation is. It's probably going to take the best part of 12 months. So I just hope they keep him active. I don't want him, just sat on the sideline waiting for that opportunity now. Liam Williams is good enough to fight, to take on stern tests and come through those. And then that will only benefit him going into an Andrade fight next year.
Thanks, Ozzy. Stay with us as long as you can. Rob's with us. Just beforehand, Rob, go to Andy on this Daniel Dubois card. Did you see anything of it, Andy? Or am I insulting your intelligence by asking you if you saw this massacre?
No, I did see the main event, the Dubois, and I seen Williams as well. Like Ozzy, the guy could have been problematic because his height and his reach and stuff, but Williams just went right through him. And I did see his interview afterwards saying he would actually give up the WBO #1 position to fight Chris Eubank Jr. And I absolutely love that fight, especially how Liam Williams has been looking these last 3-4 fights or whatever it is. I love to see Eubank in with him next, and it's the type of fight that probably Eubank that would probably fancy in that as well. It's the type of opponent he would probably take as well. And that's no disrespect to Liam Williams, but you just look at what he's been fighting recently. Eubank, it wouldn't be against them as a possibility. Dubois, he did what he did, I suppose, didn't it? Vicious knockout, and Fujimoto just proved as to how poor I said he was last week. So I agree with Ozzy. I mean, to be honest, we've got to say it's been a good year for him. You know, okay, he's fought like Solarte and Tete and Fujimoto and that, but he has won the British title as well. And that Gujanyu, who'd obviously went the distance with, was it Joseph Parker, I think it was. So, you know, I suppose you could look at the 2 wins and say, like, those are really good, really decent wins. He's been active. He's done them all by knockout. That's what you can ask in that. But I think we're now past this level of opposition now. I want to see him up tested. I still think he's a bit stiff. I like to see a bit more body movement, head movement from him and that as well. And he's never going to be a talker. I think that's what kind of Ozzy was kind of referring to that as well. As he wants to be feared. He wants to kind of like, you know, his reputation to kind of go, you know, precede him rather than, you know, known for outlandish sayings or, you know, catchphrases and stuff. And that's okay as well, because Tyson was like that. You know, he was non social media using, straight up psycho, wanting to go in there and just, you know, do the business. And I'm not saying Dubois is a psycho, but he's going to want to go in there and, you know, just smash people up. So yeah, but I want to see maybe like, say, as Ozzy says, maybe like a whack, someone who's going to carry him rounds, give him, you know, something to look at, maybe give him some problems. But I like to see him kind of like get the rounds now and just kind of get to see him kind of work on different avenues like southpaws, you know, just kind of work, you know, hone his skills a little bit in that as well before he gets ready to step up, because once that time calls, I think that right hand is going to be problematic for anybody, but, you know, there's still a work in progress there, like.
Yeah, Dubois is definitely moving in the right direction. Also, Jürgen Bremer got a win on his return, 7th round knockout over Jürgen Doberstein over in Germany on Saturday evening. The show was promoted by Alexander Petkovic, who once went in against Johnny Nelson during his WBO reign of terror. Any reigns of terror over there in Wexford? Rapping Rob Kelly's with us. We started off talking about Charlo versus Harrison 2, Rob. What did you think of it? Good fight?
Yeah, it was a great fight. Disappointed with the outcome of that, because obviously we were all rooting for Harrison because Charlo is such a shit. Like, I listened to him in the press run in the build-up, like, and he's just fucking full of cliches, isn't he? Just one cliche after the other. See, what they don't understand about me is I'm just made from a different cloth. And Harrison rightly poked fun at that persona. Like, he really is a fucking dingbat, isn't he? They're both Charlos. Like, I don't think they're exactly fucking rocket scientists. And Harrison surprised me in the fight because he actually did what he said he was going to do in the build-up, and he took it to Charlo more. Got caught. Harrison has really nobody but himself to blame. I think he switched off a little bit. Now, you got to give Charlo credit for keep looking for the knockout, but Charlo fought the fight that we expected him to fight. He was emotional, he swung a lot, he didn't really set anything up, and Harrison kind of by the end of it was playing into his hands. I thought Harrison kind of sold a little bit of a wolf ticket. I think the commentators were giving him more credit than he deserved in the 11th when he took a fairly vicious body shot and kind of outstretched both his hands to make it look like he wasn't hurt.
Yes.
And a couple of seconds later, he's basically getting pummeled. Like, so I think he was selling wolf tickets then. I think he was really hurt by that shot. And that's where you got to give Charlo a bit of credit because he kept coming. But I think if Harrison had diversified it a little bit between the way he set up the fight, the first fight, and the way he set up the fight, the second fight. Now, granted, he falls behind early in the fight, right? So he gets knocked down in the second round. Maybe he has to change it up a little bit because he knows himself, and he even said it in the build-up. This fight's a tight decision, like the last one. They're going to give it to Charlo for forcing it, right? So that little picking work that he was doing, sticking with the jab, the moving around the corner that he was doing in the first fight, that wasn't going to get him the decision, especially seeing as he got knocked down early in the fight. However, I think he kind of played into Charlo's hands by the end of it, and he'd be kicking himself because he had a real chance of pulling off the win there. But Charlo's not the man to me. Both of them, like, they're just a punch, and I think good fighters are going to figure them out down the line, and you're going to see some emphatic losses for the Charlo twins in the near future, especially if they mix it with top quality opposition. So yeah, I don't know really what was on the undercard for that one.
F.A. Jagba, excuse me, against Karadze. That was a fun 5 rounds, yeah.
Yeah, that was a cracker. I watched the Jagba versus Dubois, actually, if that could be made. I don't know if there's any point in that. They're probably on different paths, but I saw the Dubois fight. I kind of echo what I said to the lads. I think Dubois had a good year in that he knocked out Nathan Gorman in a very high profile fight for him in the summer and kind of put him on the map. 2 opponents since then have been shocking. Ebenezer Tete. He's Ebenezer Tete. He didn't put up much of a fight. And Mr. Fujimoto sound like some kind of fucking 60s sitcom, 60s fucking action series bad guy. Mr. Fujimoto. He did fuck all, didn't he? Like, he was fucking horrendous to say. What's he from, a kung fu background or something? He had. I'm surprised that Watt didn't get him in the first round, to be honest with you. He offered nothing, square feet, fucking much smaller, moving around the ring. Like, I absolutely offered him no opposition whatsoever, and he'd get nothing out of that. That was worse than the sparring session. Like, that was worse than a sparring partner. He'd get, like, Frank has to match him better now. Like, you know, there's plenty of cannon fodder in the ranking positions in the heavyweight division that Daniel Dubois would walk through, and like, all right, Joyce might want too much cash. There's plenty of the rest of them that are flying around the place that he can get into the match and give him a better test than that. And I kind of go with what the boys are saying. You need to see him against better opposition, because he's a little bit straight up and down, Dubois, and he's a little bit right hand happy. Now, I'd like to see him I think if he could get inside on Dubois, you could give him trouble. If you could get under his reach and get inside on him, you might give him something different or move around away from him. But he has to fight opponents that are going to do that to him, so he can learn on the job and learn how to kind of adjust to different styles at the top level. He's getting nothing out of that. He'll smash fellas like that up every day of the week. Now, all right, he got to pay before Christmas, another bit of exposure, highlight reel, knockout, and it's not his fault, but Warren has to match him better than that now at this stage. Fuck that. Like, after the Gorman fight, he should have been pushing on with him.
Another one, sorry, I was going to say another one I'd look at is Kuzmin for Dubois.
Yeah. What's wrong with the likes of those guys? Like, yeah, exactly. Like, Mr. Fujimoto, where the fuck did it pull him out of? Like, Mr. Fujimoto
sitting on a wheelie chair, stroking a cat.
Jesus Christ, that was shocking. Like, shocking. So, and then,
how the hell was he ranked 13 in the world by the WBA?
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, that's what I was just about to get to. Like, how the fuck on earth? Like, obviously, it's not rocket science. We know he probably has a TV network behind him in his home country. He's probably been paying the sanctioning fees for these fights and thus gaining a ranking position to this point. So, I mean, then Tommy Fury on the fucking undercard, man. Holy shit. Agree with Oz. A lot of pressure on the guy. He's only 2-0. He's only basically learning to fight. He's no amateur background, has he? Like, he's come in there, like, turned pro, seeing how far he's gone. We had him on the pod and everything before. Seemed like a nice guy. Seemed like a lovely chap on Love Island.
Spoke well.
Fan of him. Big fan of him and Molly May. But this fucking opponent, man, Jesus Christ. Anyone on the panel would have stopped him. Anyone on the panel would have stopped him. 28 fights with 26 defeats. Fucking hell, where did they get him out of? So that was pretty bad. Like, and then afterwards I felt bad for him, because the guy's obviously a bit of a star now. He's got like 5 million Instagram followers. He probably doesn't need to fight. He could probably make more money doing endorsements and sponsorships than he would out of a year of prize fighting. So in a way, I have to admire him for still wanting to stick in the ring. But I don't know. I'd be very skeptical about his future at 175, and I'd be a bit. Fuck it. I'd be a bit concerned about John Fury wanting to be jumping in front of the fucking camera as well after a performance like that. I mean, he blasted the guy out of it. It didn't look good. It didn't look classy. It didn't look tidy. It was just pure overwhelmed the guy that shouldn't be in the ring with him. John Fury jumps in the fucking ring straight afterwards. It's like father and son going all the way to the top. I want to relax, like, I think, before you start making calls like that. You're just going to have to see how far the guy can go. I'd be very skeptical as well whether like that kind of public eye in that relationship and all that, like when you're bringing the missus to the fucking ring with you, whether it's, I'd be more old school than that, like, and I'd want to keep those two things separate if I was him. But I did feel.
Rob, have you ever shouted Wexford in the house and nobody's responded?
No, never. But no, to be honest with you, most of the shows I did weren't in Wexford. People in Wexford were looking at me like, "Fuck off with you, Wexford in the house." All right, man. But fucking, I felt bad for him when he was like, "Yeah, what did you think?" And nobody said anything.
The crowd went mild.
Yeah, they were on the bar getting slopped out, man, because of that nonsense.
Yeah, there was like, well, Tommy, you've made an appearance here tonight, first fight since Love Island. Are you buzzing? What did everyone think? It was just like tumbleweeds. You're gonna have to get that one for the soundboard, Wellies. That was a good one, actually.
I know.
But yeah, you can drop it in at will there. But yeah, I saw Williams as well. I think Williams did what he was expected to do. I'm probably not as high on Williams as everyone else. I want to see him I see. I reserve to see how he gets on at the top level. And there's nothing against the guy. He's a good athlete. He's a good trainer and all that. But I'm not overwhelmed either. I'm not fucking overexcited about him either. Yeah, so that's kind of what I saw. I think, Steve, unless there's any other fights you want to jog my memory, I've been on a bit of a mad one for the last few days, so it's hard to catch everything.
Now we'll be coming to you about Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. very shortly, but before we do that,
I want to speak about him and all.
Get pumped up, boys. Ready? I'm going to go to Aussie first of all on the... he's right ahead of me as usual. Jack Massey, Richard Riakpori. Was it Lawrence Okoli in disguise? Another human octopus. Luther Clay as well. Craig shit. Richards, Kieran Conway. Aussie, first of all, tell me, Riakpori. He's fairly getting the wins all right, but it's not exactly too pleasing on the eye this weekend.
No, I've got to admit, I thought he was fortunate in this one. I don't think it was a robbery. I edged Jack Massey in this by a couple of points. I thought Riakpori was very fortunate in the fact that he just wouldn't stop holding constantly. And I thought it was a very poor performance from referee Phil Edwards, who dished out the warnings but never acted on it. And I put a tweet out saying that the board need to have a word with officials. Like when it comes to Riakpori and Okoli, they've got to enforce the holding rules, because the blatant spoilers just getting away with just it all the time, and it's boring to see, and there's nothing you can see either. And I thought Phil Edwards deserved. I thought Phil Edwards should have taken a point off Riakpori, and that could have changed the fight. Knockdown was a bit controversial as well. Second and third time we're looking at that. And I think, to be honest, a rematch is a must. I don't think it was conclusive. Like I say, somewhat controversial in terms of the refereeing performance. And I was impressed by Jack Massey. This was a real step up for him, because he's 16-0, but hasn't really fought anybody. And Riakpori, that whilst he's raw, he's certainly got the names and wins under his back. Billum Smith's a good win, Sam Hyde, and he carries power, so I'll be up for seeing that again. Luther Clay was excellent, big fan. I like him. We obviously had him on the pod, had his manager Alciesta on the pod as well. Really impressed by him, talented. I'd like to see him with Conor Benn next. I think that's a good fight for the pair of them. Matthew Macklin said something that frustrated me a bit, saying, we'd like to see Luther Clay in with Conor Benn to see where he's at. Well, I would actually flip that, and I'd say I'd like to see Conor Benn in with Luther Clay to see where Conor Benn's at, because I'm still not sold on Benn, and whilst he's improved, I still don't think he's been in with anybody remotely decent. Clay would ask questions of him, and I think if he could come through a fight like that, that would show that Benn is, could certainly win a respected domestic title. But Kieran Conway was okay against Craig O'Brien. Craig Richards, Chad Sugden was a great fight. Fair result in my opinion. Chad Sugden, I think he came in short notice, and I'm sure he used to be a kickboxer, but tough as old boots, was impressive. Richards was too. Yeah, he did, yeah, definitely. And I tell you what, he'll get fights on the back of that as well, because he was very impressive. And Richards, I mean, his next fight is for the British title against Shakan Pitters. So that's going to be an interesting one. Yeah, Channel 5, yeah. Big Mick, back from the dead, promoting again on Channel 5. As for Sugden, I've no doubt he'll get another opportunity, whether it be for an English belt or, like another domestic light heavy as well, because he was good and he was well worthy of his draw as well. Shannon Courtney, yeah, we'll forget her. No one cares. And there was a couple of prospects as well, which again, didn't see because it wasn't aired. But yeah, main event was good. Clay was good. And Richards and Sugden was good as well. So a card that was seemingly, not brilliant.
Main event was shite, mate.
I didn't mind the fight itself. I thought it was okay, because Riakpori landed some big shots and Massey took them really well, and Massey himself landed. I mean, Riakpori at the end was battered. His nose was a mess.
Holden just ruined it for me, and the fact is that Phil Edwards actually warned him in the 10th round, and he kept doing it, and he never warned him again after that. Yeah,
I can agree with that. I understand. I say good as in, I don't think it was the worst. Like I've seen stinkers before, and I would only say like towards the back end of the fight was where the holding really came into it. But like I said, there was big shots landed. Like I said, Riyad Pori was pissing blood by the end of it from his nose. And I wouldn't mind seeing a rematch with a stronger official. I just wonder, for fighters like this, when a stronger official does come in, they could be disqualified. It wouldn't be, unheard of to see it happen, because it's like in the norm just to keep doing it, unless they can somehow just stop when the referee, finally acts on it and does take a point off him for holding.
Andy, quick word from you on this card, and very brief if you want, but I thought Macklin had a strange performance in the commentary box. He sounded like he was commentating for two different outlets. He kept on giving his scores off the camera.
I never heard that, mate. I did hear Adam Smith kind of like struggling to try and kind of get dislodge a like 3D old shite for his arsehole, and that the way he talks. He's working so very, very hard here. Oh man, I found myself kind of like sitting watching that main event at points and that, and I'm a bit done with the domestic scene, especially after that 117-111 scorecard. I've got my kids still up, but how the fuck is that possible, by the way? A close fight like that, 117-111, it's like an obligation nowadays for these British cards. Same with that Lee McGregor, Cash Farouk fight, who, by the way, is a good signing for Eddie Hearn, by the way, and I guarantee he wouldn't have got the 117-111 scorecard against him as well if he'd been a Hearn fighter. And it just, it was like 3 weeks hard running, they were talking about scorecards and that, so I just want to mention that. Was it Robert Williams for that 117-111 scorecard?
Yeah.
That's just wrong. Absolute wrong. Wrong. That's all I'm going to say on it.
You're right. It's becoming a norm now, the 117-111 card, and it's every domestic fight we see. I would say that probably there's been 10 fights this year marred by controversial scorecards. And it's a shame, because good fights can be overtaken by shit judging, and nothing happens from it, ever. Judges aren't made to explain the cards, nothing happens. They appear again in big fights, British fights, Commonwealth fights, European fights the following week, or in the following months when they're happening. No punishment happens. The board seemingly let everybody get away with it. And I've always said the one thing to eradicate this now is that we do away with ringside judging, and we sit 3 judges in respective soundproof booths that watch TV monitors, and they score it off that. Because that's the only way that I can see that potential scoring would improve. People call for open scoring. That will not make a difference whatsoever. It will only basically know, a fighter will know if he's behind or not. It won't improve the scoring because it's open. You think judges are going to be more aware? The score gets read out at the end anyway. So reading it in, like rounds 5, 7 and 9, for example, won't make a difference whatsoever. I think the only way it'd work is if you pull them away, put them in soundproof booths, watch a monitor and see how that works, because all too often now ringside judging just doesn't work.
Apparently that the one that put in the 117-111 scorecard had a block view for the pictures I saw on Twitter.
John Evans put that up,
Yeah, John Evans.
That's right. So see if that's true, but that is him, by the way. Then there needs to be questions asked about the detail at ringside. As always says, if you go in a booth or in a high chair like an umpire and a tennis do to get a good view overhanging the ring, then so be it. Because as it says, as John put that picture up, how the hell are you meant to score a fight like that? You need to be like Donnie's
board
dad.
Inspector should have sorted that out, and he should have said to the inspector, I think, about that, and they should have gone and moved that guy.
The judges of every fight, if you're going to have them at ringside, need to be like sat at the apron of the ring on either side of the ring.
Stool,
on a stool, like Donnie's dad. You see Donnie's dad at ringside. That when he does it, he's off his stool, kind of like doing the body movement, trying to see, you see him moving the boot, trying to get a better angle and stuff like that. So he's trying his best to try and get. We'll leave the Golovkin scorer, So, sorry, Donnie, but you know what I'm talking about. I mean, come on, man, you got to have better setup. Now you're talking about a guy here who's trained his arse off, right? Try to kind of come off nonchalant about the result. I know he'd be annoyed about it, but 117-111, man, as I say, it's an obligation in British cards these days. It's just wrong.
Yeah, it's a piss taken. Like we said before, there's careers that can be on the line for this, without a doubt. Like I say, I refer back to the Anthony Crolla one against the Spaniard. It was, like Crolla's last fight, and everyone was going, it doesn't matter, it was Crolla's last fight. But people forget the opponent who was on the wrong end of a decision, and a win there could have propelled him to all sorts of opportunities, and it's just laughed off. And people always say about, like Germany's shocking for it and America can be bad. The UK is up there for one of the worst places to come to try and get a result now. It's a disgrace, and nothing ever happens of it because the board, in my opinion, are a shambles. You never see people struck off, people took away, they never act on anything, results are rarely overturned or anything like that. Poor results are accepted, and it's always the away fighter that suffers. Nothing ever happens. And when it's the home fighter that happens, immediate rematches are called. As I say, Crawler against Crawler Linares.
Dillian White, no Dillian White. Remember Mauricio Suleiman coming out there making that fight a no contest on a presidential privilege for the WBC.
Oh, Edwards, yeah.
Charlie
who does that?
Yeah, exactly. It's an absolute joke. And people bang on and say, like, we've got some of the best officials in the world and things like that. I don't see how you can understand. I don't believe it whatsoever. Because all we do week in, week out, and it's not just us, this is being picked up across the world now from boxing fans saying how bad it is, the scoring over here. And it's true. So how we can say we have some of the best officials and judges in the world now is just factually incorrect, because all we do is criticise them for constant poor cards and stoppages and things like that. And as I say, fighters will walk away, because why should they train their backside off, invest money into camps, things like that, only to be going in and essentially, it seems, 3 or 4 rounds down on the cards before the bell has even rang.
Sort this shit out, says Ozzy Smith on episode 354 of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. Andy's with us as well, so is rapping Rob Kelly. Bellew of the Week's coming up at the end of the show, plus reviews, previews even for next week. Not really a lot going on. It's Christmas time. We'll talk about Gervonta Davis maybe over in Australia on Wednesday. Eclectic week. We had a Friday, we had a Thursday, we had a Wednesday card as well. Jeff Horn getting revenge over Michael Zarafa on a majority decision. Reynold Quinlan fairly racking up the losses now. I think he's 12-7, losing to Tej Pratap Singh. We'll move on swiftly from that one, Andy. Card going on Monday as well. This morning, this afternoon, this evening, whenever the hell it was in Japan. You were all over it. I didn't get to it in time. Stephen Butler wasn't knocked out by a champagne bucket. It was the heavy hands of Ryota Murata that got rid of him in the 5th round. Mathalani, I saw highlights of this against Yayagashi. He looked like a fight worth watching, worth getting hold of, actually. And also Roman Gonzalez. Really low level of opposition, but he looked pretty good, pretty sharp against this Diokos. What were the things worth watching on this Tekken Promotions show this morning?
Well, obviously good to see Gonzalez back, but he wasn't fighting anybody. They're kind of now talking about a potential world title fight next. We'll wait and see. Ken Shiro doing what Ken Shiro does in that, just smashing his opponent. I know he was meant to be having, I think it was a unification fight he was meant to be having actually, that pedal calling. He's been over the course before. I would say, he's not really good defensively, and that's just what's happened. Ken Shiro's punched through him, done him in the body numerous times and stuff, and he's just, he's been counted out. I would say there's if the WBSS want to do another series and stuff, and they want to, increase the number of fighters for a tournament, like flyweight's where it's at, man. And I know it's probably a kind of hardcore kind of helmet thing to say or whatever and that, but I'm telling you, anybody, I could name you 30 fighters at light flyweight across the world who would at one day or another going to pick up a world title at some point. I mean, the place is just stacked, bitching with talent. Top guys, the belt holders and that, guys like, as I say, Ken Shiro, Karaguchi, who's probably classed as the number one. You got Alvarado, Soto, and that, Acosta. That's like non-titleists and that. As I say, it's just top heavy. Edward Heno, I'm really kind of impressed with that guy. Tall, southpaw, very strong in-fighter and that as well. Guys like Jesse Rodriguez, another young fighter, good footwork, he's quick hands and that, really good right hooks to the body and that. So as I say, it really is kind of kicking off at light flyweight. Yakiri Higashi, man, I mean, you probably heard, or some of the listeners would have heard Gabe reminding us last week about value for money that guy's been, and he was value again against Morita Mathalan for South Africa, another long-standing champ at flyweight and that. But the guys went to, as I said, well, Mathalan, he's more kind of classic stylist boxer than that. Higashi, trying to kind of get it in the trenches, and they finally got it there in the 4th round. Really hung it out there, and I think just age at the end of the day is kind of like beat him. because as the fight kind of wore on, probably about the rounds, I think it was 6 and 7, probably the 8th, certainly 7th and 8th, he was, showing signs of heavy weather and that. And then Mithilin, who, it was a big call actually for anybody who put money on him for the stoppage, because he doesn't really kind of get a lot of stoppage victories. So he's come in there. I think he was, was kind of tight on the scorecards, but he's done pretty well there, and I hope he's been paid pretty decently over his last few defences that he's had and that, because I know he's had problems trying to get big fights and big paydays and that. So, and the main event, Roy Murata against Stephen Butler. I think Butler, the Canadian scene isn't all that strong. I noticed going through a lot of investments and stuff like that over the last few years, and it's the scene's kind of picking up. It's getting more events and stuff, but it's really struggling for a kind of breakout fighter. And if you look at the kind of top fighters coming out of Canada, and that, it's always kind of like it's the imports, guys for like Uzbekistan and the Russians, and you got Beterbiev obviously in that as well. But Murata, I think at this point he is what he is. He's decent boxer who's got a wee bit of power, but I think he's definitely on the kind of fringe world level, and that once he steps up to the guys, the kind of top half at middleweight and that, he's going to come a cropper and that. But I like to see him in with likes of Charlo or whatever and that, but I like to see a Golovkin, Andrade, definitely Alvarez and that would probably handle him. But I think he's got some decent opposition in that there. He could maybe fight, maybe like a Korobov, for example, if he wants another opportunity. Eubank's there. He's already beat Rob Brandt and stuff like that. I know he lost the first fight. I don't know how about Zarafa and that, if he's going to be kind of ranked still after that Jeff Horn defeat, and that if Horn might get ranked in that as well. But we'll wait and see. But it was a really good card, and that'll probably rank at number 2 of the week behind the PBC card.
Yeah, PBC card was definitely good stuff. Excuse me, boys. Over on Friday night, Eddie Hearn racking up the shows. A decent scrap between Aguilar and Rosales. Rosales is a tough old nut, but that Aguilar, he doesn't look quite like he's ever in shape, but he can punch and he has a good output as well. He's going to be one to look out for, as long as he's not hitting guys when they're on the floor. Vacant WBC flyweight title goes over to him. Danny Jacobs, 5th round win over Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. Has there ever been a guy who's had so many opportunities as this fella? He used to be able to fight a bit. He gets the pay-per-views. He's the son of a legend. People do come out for Chavez. He's not without his benefits. Maurice Hooker getting a win as well. Liam Smith, Gabe Brazado was on standby for the main event. Didn't get his opportunity. Josh Kelly didn't see any of that type of stuff. Did you get a chance to see it, Rob? What about elbow gate? Did Johnny Jacobs open Chavez's nose with an elbow, or was it a legitimate uppercut? What was your vantage point, Rob?
Rob, before you go,
TV.
Josh Kelly.
Go ahead.
Did you see Josh Kelly, mate? Come on, tell me you did.
No, I didn't bother watching, dude. I heard he wasn't that impressive.
Oh my word, he was shite.
Well, I hate to say we're always right, but we did call it. I think both of us were pretty fucking. Go back 2 years, and I said about Josh Kelly, I didn't think he was the real deal. Like, I don't go in for all those, fighting journeymen, hitting him with 5 left hooks and all that. I have to show me something else. Like, when he fought against Ray Robinson, I kind of saw that night. I didn't think that he was going to cut it. And I heard he didn't show anything that even suggests he's going to beat Avanesi, and so pretty bad Josh Kelly. But in terms of Chavez, I mean, really, since he's beat Andy Lee in superstitious or under dubious circumstances, it has to be said. He's lost to Sergio Martinez. The only thing about that was he put a fight up in the last round against a guy fucking 2 stone lighter than him and managed to catch him with something. Since then, he arguably lost to Brian Vera, then won the rematch, then lost to Fonfara by jacking it, then fought nobody, all the while serving fucking bans and suspensions and different things and never making weight, put in a fucking piss poor performance against Alvarez. And for Eddie Hearn, he fucking gets what he deserves, because this fella refused a drug test, right? Because he hadn't signed the contract, so he refused it on a technicality. The commission suspended him. And then Eddie lobbied to have the fight made in a different state under a different licensing, and he got it moved. And he gets what he fucking deserves. And Chavez makes his way out with $3 million after jacking it in a fight that he was actually doing well in. I had him winning a couple of rounds. I thought he was putting pressure on Jacobs. He was doing pretty well. Jacobs was finding distance on him, and I'd expect that he would have taken over in the second half of the fight, but he wasn't making it a picnic for Jacobs. And then at the slightest point of adversity, and no, we're not fighters, we're not in there, and we don't know what's going through their heads, but like, put it this way, as fans of the sport, when you see, and you don't like seeing fighters take injuries. But when you see the likes of fucking the greats, when you're talking about Rocky Marciano's fucking nose split in half and they're putting it back together with glue solution in the corner, or you're looking at, you know, different cuts over the years. Are we talking about fucking Danny Williams with his shoulder dislocated and turning around and winning the fight? If you're a fighter, you have to fucking fight. Like, and this fella's been born soft. Like, he's the son of a legend. He's born a millionaire. He never had to fight. He's fighting, trying to live up to his father's reputation, and all he ever had was athleticism in his favour, not boxing fundamentals. And now that that's gone, this kind of shit's going to happen over and over with him. And if they put him back in, you're going to get the same fucking result. Like, so I'm not surprised one bit by that result. First of all, he came in overweight. So he came in 4 pounds overweight in the first fucking place. Before a punch is thrown, he comes in 4 pounds overweight. So complete disregard for his preparation again. Complete disregard for his opponent. Complete disregard for the sport. Just flouting the rules all the time, Chavez. Like. And then I was complaining about an elbow, and up on Instagram next day, wants to be back in March, you know, because his chest is puffed out because he had 2 good rounds in the last 10 years. Honest to God, when you see that picture of Chavez with his head in his hands, you know what's going through his head, like, don't you? You know what's going through his head. See what his dad have quit with a fucking broken nose. Well, actually, do you know what, though? Do you know what?
His dad did quit, though, didn't he?
He did quit, didn't he? Against Frankie Randall. So, yeah, maybe so. Maybe the apple doesn't fall too far. I can't say, yeah. Jesus Christ, I got ahead of myself there. He did quit quite conveniently in the rematch with Randall, didn't he? Like,
it's in the genes.
He did quit. He did.
Come on, wait a minute. He was at the back end of his career.
Yes, correct.
I know,
in his prime, I mean, like, look at what he came back from against Major Taylor. He's getting destroyed in the fight, getting fucking completely outboxed for every round, and he just fucking hangs in there and gets his moment, breaks him down. So he's disappointed. We're all disappointed. Everyone thought Chavez Jr. was going to be a little bit better than this. Surely some signs of promise, but he's not fucking taking it seriously. He's smoking weed, he's pissing about, he's fucking. So when I tell you everything you need to know about Chavez Jr., when Freddie Roach used to do the pads in his fucking sitting room because he didn't like coming to the gym. Like, fuck off. Like, you're not going to... His pads in the sitting room. He's like, you coming in for training camp today, Chavez? No, I'm just on the couch and I'm afraid if you want to fucking spin the car around, I'll be up to do it. I'm just doing a warm-up without you. Skipping a few rounds in the kitchen here. We'll do some pads in the sitting room and then you can piss off home while I pad you the rest of the day. Like, fucking absolute joke. Like, joke. Does nothing for Jacobs, does nothing for him, does nothing for DAZN. And just a bad look overall, really.
Yeah, DAZN, I'm coming on to them in a minute. Before we do so, Andy, I think I know where your thoughts lie on this one. But Kevin Chase came in. He said, after even more embarrassing exploits, can the panel name anybody who has tarnished their father's legacy more than Chavez Jr.? He has taken Conor Benn's beard implant to a totally other level.
Oh, this! I mean, I must admit, the memes that I saw after his fight, of him lying in the gurney and his dad standing next to him, and people are saying, this motherfucker. I mean, obviously, Chavez must want to shut an air bubble into him or switch a machine off somewhere just to get rid of him, man. I mean, I endorse everything that Rob said there, by the way. And I know Chavez has quit in the past and that, but you need to remember what he was before that. You know, come on. Steve, you and I did the Penal Whitaker Chavez punches for the past episode, and I says then, Chavez Sr. came for the absolute slurry of the earth, right? That guy grew up with like 11 sisters or whatever it was, a big huge family, and his dad living in an abandoned railway wagon in Sinaloa, fucking Mexico, right? And he fought himself to the top, multi-millionaire, revered the world over, pound for pound #1. He comes home to Mexico and they send the car that brings the fucking Pope to see the president of Mexico to pick him up for the airport, right? That is the standing of this man, right? So he knew what it was like. I mean, I dare say our grandparents and our great grandparents and that, they all struggled in that, so they've kind of worked for a better life for us to have what we've got today, right? But it's the same as Chavez Jr. His dad took all those wars and all those fights and all those beatings to provide for his fucking family. Now, I know he wasn't, a double saint. I know he did his own things, his cocaine, the women, the drink and stuff like that. But his son was brought up...
Salma fucking Hayek, though. It's Salma Hayek and he's the pound for pound fucker. Can he not fucking have an affair with Salma Hayek? I'm not going to judge him for that. Fucking hell, man.
Right, you know what I'm saying? And then you've got this guy, his son, grew up an absolute clover, right? Absolute clover. He grew up in a mansion, multi-millionaire lifestyle and all that sort of stuff. So he's not got the minerals and the same attitude his dad had, that hunger, that nastiness that you needed to get yourself up out the fucking bed every morning. As Rob says, look at the fucking Martinez fight. He's fighting and he's sparring in his living room. I'm not coming to training and all that sort of stuff. Misses weight constantly. I mean, there's people on Twitter and that who are actually saying that the reason why he didn't take drug tests is because he's a cocaine addict. Right? Now, if that's true, he's in a bad way. As Rob says as well, as if he was doing well in the fight, especially the first round. He won the first round clearly, in my opinion. He looked massive compared to Jacobs. He must have been like a cruiserweight going into that ring there on Friday night, whatever it was. But then he goes and swallows it. And then he starts complaining like a bitch after the fight that, I got a headbutt and all that stuff. Demanding a rematch. Wait a minute, you didn't make weight. You didn't take it seriously. You look like Freddie Mercury on a bad day, for God's sake. Right?
Didn't take the drug test.
Didn't take a drug test. You've apparently got drug problems. You end up in fucking hospital with a result that your dad actually wanted to disown you. Chuck it, man. I'm sick and tired of him. And the thing is, we
want to be honest.
The crowd were cut out for him. They were desperate for him to see him win. They were passionate. Look at the chaos scenes afterwards and stuff like that. That's what happens when the Mexican swallows it, by the way. As I say, I know there's fighters now who've quit in the past and that, and you could say that his dad, used a bad excuse for losing to Oscar De La Hoya and Frankie Randell and all that sort of stuff and that. But come on, his dad never swallowed it like that. Never like that. Just like winning a fight and then say, nah, fuck this, man. I'm done. I'm dusted. He's over, man. I'm sick and tired of him. And he got $3 million, whatever it was.
He'll be back, I tell you.
Oh man, I'm fucking disgusted with him.
Him getting that $3 million is even more of a fucking sickener though when you think he didn't even need it. You know what I mean?
Well,
there is fighters up there that don't get the same kind of recognition. They have to do everything the fucking hard way. I probably did come from the fucking slums, and this fucking golden boy just waltzes in here and keeps getting big opportunities because Eddie needs to fill dates on fucking DAZN. Oh, how did that backfire on him, man? Bob Arum must have been laughing his ass off at that one, laughing his ass off because he was the one who was highlighting the fact that it's just something you don't do. If a fighter fails a drug test in one state, you shouldn't. Mr. fucking clean up the sport lobbies to get the fucking fight in another state.
He's not crying now, is he?
Lawyers are going to fix it for him. I'll tell you one thing, by the way. See the night he lost to Martinez was one of the most satisfying nights watching boxing. I made a lot of money in that fight, and see Tommy and Kurt raging for like a week afterwards and stuff like, he almost got me in the 12th round, But that was a clinic. And again, another guy who was monstrously fucking massive compared to Martinez, by the way. See, this is another guy. And by the way, could you just go back to when he got that WBC title, by the way? That was Martinez's belt. Let's not forget. Right? That's right. They stripped him, gave him the diamond belt, I think it was, or champion recess, whatever it was. He was an active champion, Martinez. Don't forget this. So the gi, I think it was Sebastian Zibik, the belt, for Chavez today.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
So talk about nepotism, by the way. Talk about favours getting dialed in here because of your name, because you sell tickets. Glenn McCrory was on Sky Sports once. I think who's the Irish boy that fought John Duddy, I think it was. And he said the same thing. What I said, he's reported under the Trade Description Act for mimicking a boxer. He's at it. And this is just further proof. But if he keeps selling tickets, if people keep turning up, this is going to keep happening. It's an absolute fucking indictment on the sport. Disgrace.
There was like 6,000 there from the other night. Fucking hell, man. 6,000.
They were chucking stuff at him, did you see, at the end? Or throwing stuff in the ring.
He fucking deserved it. Fucking 3 million. They're on the way to the fucking dressing room to count his money with his bleeding nose. Fuck off with you. 6,000 though. Fucking hell, that's a lot. That's a lot for him. Jesus Christ almighty. I mean, when's the last time he had a fight?
He does get interest, They sold a lot of pay-per-views against Canelo. You'd be surprised. He'll be back, I tell you. He'll be back, alright, he will. They'll have him on DAZN. Mr. Interview Eddie didn't want to have an interview afterwards. I'm liking this Mikey Garcia thing, actually, Rob. The way Mikey Garcia's joined up for one fight, and it's all like, welcome to the team, like he's going to be training with Tony Sims or something. Mikey Garcia is going to cash in his $7 million check, and he's going to leave Eddie hanging like a flipping Hilton Hotel whore, man. He ain't going to be hanging around on DAZN. It's a freaking joke.
But when you see the likes of Mikey Garcia, and you talk about like Mikey Garcia, Floyd Mayweather, guys like that have come up in the sport where their parents are fighters, their grandparents are fighters, their uncles are all fighters, and they seem to have a better, wider boxing IQ and are better fighters for it. And then you see the likes of Eubank Jr. and Chavez Jr. who are just at it, as Andy said, like they're just fucking chancing it, like for an image thing, like, and the difference, like. But yeah, Mikey's a fucking strange character, man. I always put it down to the fact that he's an ex-copper. Like, I don't know, there's something about him.
There's something about him. Like, there's something wrong about him. I don't know what it is.
He tried to do that Andre Ward gamble. You know, when Andre Ward took the fucking sit out that time from Goose and was like, look, I'm the number 2 pound for pound guy. I want to get paid in accordance with being the number 2 pound for pound guy. Mikey was kind of knocking about at number 3 at that stage when he started to get into contract wranglings with Arum, and then he tried to do the gamble and it hasn't really paid off for him. That big money contract hasn't been there waiting for him, or if it has, he hasn't seemed to take the right decisions.
He was nailed on for Pacquiao though, wasn't he? They were going to put him in with Pacquiao.
Fight to fight. He
didn't want to fight. He didn't want to fight. No.
Yeah, he's going like fight to fight deals. One deal with Heyman, one deal with Floyd. Floyd was involved there at some stage. He's kind of going from ship to ship, like. But it's hard to see. It's hard to see where he's going. Who's his opponent for this? Oh, it's Jesse fucking Vargas, isn't it?
Yeah. DAZN are just throwing money at any old shit and hoping that it sticks, aren't they? I mean, flip me. This DAZN is going to go bankrupt and they're all going to be laughing all the way to the bank.
Jesse Vargas, another one, like, you know, blatantly fucking, can't say allegedly blatantly on the juice, like goes from a fucking pillow puncher to a fucking knockout artist in a couple of fights.
We want to be honest,
with a big back full of acne, and he never does enough to get a win, and yet he gets more opportunities than fucking Gabriel Rosado. Like, absolute joke that is.
Can I just say something as well? Actually, I forgot during my mid-rant actually about Chavez Jr. who he was actually mixing with. And then when he's got fucking problems outside the ring, did you see it?
No.
Mickey Rourke.
Oh, Mickey Rourke. Yeah.
Candle face, man. Jesus, man.
Looks like someone's run over him.
Did you see him? He was trying to protect him, trying to get out of the ring while the deputy come out
with the coat over him.
Jesus,
he's got a face like a melted plastic bag, hasn't he?
Oh, what, man?
Chavez Jr.'s quit was better than the quit that the guy who fought Mickey Rourke in his last pro fight. Remember that? He fucking never hit him at all. He went over. It was like they were filming a movie.
They need to get Rourke fighting that Mexican president, you know, that Mexican guy with the big fake tits. They need to get them two in against each other. That'd be a good.
Get his name.
Jorge something, I think it is. Over in Russia, Andy, that's where the Mickey Rourke fight took place, and not on this card though. Yeah. Denis Lebedev, he's done. He's toast. Put a fork in him.
Did you see it? I've never seen it, to be honest with you.
No, haven't seen it. I didn't see Kudryashov either, but I heard it was a split, and this Pedzar pushed the beast quite close, but no, haven't seen it, Andy.
Well, that Pedzar's the one that knocked out Craig Glover, I think, 2 rounds. I think that's the Scouse Cruiserweight, I think it was. I'm looking for a copy of that fight, actually. I know it happened to start, but there's nothing materialised yet, so I maybe need to go into the Russian version of YouTube, see if I can find it somewhere, but to be honest, I'm not kind of surprised that Machino kind of got that victory in that, because we did say, he was, he's a decent fighter, but I just didn't know where he was at that point, because I hadn't seen him for a few years. But to go to Russia and pretty much win it, was it 120, 107, 119, 108, and 115, 112 suggests to me that he's basically pissed it out of the park. See here, Lebedev was penalised 1 point in round 3 as per WBC rules for accidental headbutt that opened up a cut over the right eye.
Stupid rule. Yeah, stupid rule.
Doesn't really matter, but the fact is, in 2 of the judges' scorecards, that he's basically like washed Lebedev out of there suggests to me that Lebedev is now finished. But I'll keep an eye out for a copy of the fight, and I will get it to watch at some point if it's. But yeah, I think Machino would probably been allowed to kind of box at his own pace, but it looks at.
And we were talking about this earlier, Andy, but D-Dog was among a few people who alerted me during the week to Saul Farah's big opportunity over the weekend against Christian Hammer in Germany. I believe it didn't go too well for big Saul. He got blasted out of there.
Yeah, he got knocked out in 1 round, I think it was actually. That was, to be precise, actually, I think it was 2 minutes 15 seconds into the first round, so he's lasted well.
Hammer's decent though, isn't he? Like Hammer's not too bad, I don't think.
I suppose he's got his level. Probably, European, suppose. I know he took Ortiz the distance and stuff, so some people like to use Ortiz as a kind of yardstick for shitting on him and stuff because his age or whatever and stuff, but he's still a kind of decent top level heavyweight at points anyway, or there was a time. But now Saul Farah, I suppose, he can go back to defending the Bolivian heavyweight title.
MB in the chat, shout out to him. He's put the Kudryashov fight YouTube link in the chat there, Andy, so we can go over and have a watch of that later maybe. See the bearded one in action, old Rasputin himself.
Look at that, Cheers for
Good
that, mate.
stuff. Thanks, MB. Yep. Action in Germany next weekend, Friday the 27th of December. Prince Patel returns. His assault on world domination continues as he goes in against Ilgvars Krauklis over 6 rounds. Latvia's finest, 1 win on his debut against a fellow debutant. He's lost his last 5, so that should be a good test for Prince Patel there. No title on the line as far as I know. Shout out to all the people who's given us iTunes reviews as well. I do shout out for them. We've had quite a few come in. Hoggy686, 22 Winslow, Woody B88, Linsos, and friend of the pod Ted Barrett have all put in 5-star iTunes reviews. We also had one. What about this then, Rob? We had a 1-star iTunes review from I Can Write. He says, clueless, boring buffoons, very poor in every aspect.
Evening, Ed. How you get on, dude? Happy Christmas to you.
Good man.
That's definitely any hair.
Listens every week.
No, Mr. I Can. You know what you can do with that 1 star? Like, we'll never forget.
Yeah, I'll dig out a sound clip for you, Mr. I Can Write. Okay, let's have a look at a few more questions from our friends over on patreon.com/Boxing Asylum. Starting off with a good friend of ours, Andy, Mr. Danny Young. He's thrown this one in for you. He said, given that we hear about Anthony Joshua wanting to help spar Fury for the Wilder rematch, what's the best sparring stories that the panel know of? Excluding Conor versus Paulie, maybe Rob could throw in a festive impression. Maybe he could, but before that, Andy, the best sparring stories that you know about? I'm trying to think of some actually sparring stories.
Who was the Welsh fighter, mate? British champ. I keep fought around about light welterweight. Oh, Gary something. Give me a B, possibly. Okay, it's on top of my tongue. I need to go and double check, mate. Gary Butland, that was the one. Gary Butland, right? You kind that guy used to just jump into a sparring ring. Never used to wrap his hands. Never wore a fucking mouth guard. Never put a head guard on. Honestly, that's how he went in there. Just went in there and just wailed away and stuff. Every sparring session. There's one, I don't know if it's him and Lee Selby actually, that I've seen on YouTube once. And it was an absolute warfare, And he just kept coming, man. I was like, that's insane. He's got a British title defence coming up at some point, and he's like gone to war with Lee Selby. I heard stories about, I forget who he is in a minute, but he came into the gym trying to break Ricky Burns' ribs and stuff, and Ricky just turned the tables on him a wee bit, There's that story that John Simpson sparked Carl Frampton in the gym as well, with a body shot. I think it was.
It wasn't Simpson that I heard. It was I can't remember who it was, but it was someone else I heard done that.
It was Simpson, the one I got told.
I know Dave Boy McCauley used to get knocked down all the time because that was one of the examples of sparring is sparring. McCauley apparently used to go to war in his sparring and get knocked down all the time and then go out and defend his world title. So I suppose you can only take sparring to a degree is the moral of the story.
Mike Tyson, I suppose, that famous one in Japan. Remember, he was not Oliver McCall. Who was it? Greg Page or something like that dropped him.
Mm-hmm. I thought it was Oliver McCall.
Was it Oliver McCall?
I thought it was. Yeah. I thought Oliver McCall dropped him at some stage in sparring anyway.
Aye, but he'd been raw dogging all the Japanese prostitutes and stuff like that. And then into sparring, and he got dropped in sparring, and he got iced off Buster Douglas and stuff, So that's probably one of the better ones I can come up with. But there are other ones I can't even remember actually.
Lucas Brown.
Because it's just stories at the end of the day, and that's always third, fourth hand stories you get when it comes to sparring and that. Unless you're actually there, I mean. Nah,
well, actually, Manny told me some stories about the Kronk sparring sessions. Like I basically said, they used to be wars, and I think everybody knows Tony. That. There's Tony actually was on
Tony
that.
And Danny Green. Oh my God, he dogged him the whole run.
Manny, apparently Tony, when Tony used to spar, he just treated it like a fight, and he'd be fucking talking to the sparring partners and all, telling him he was going to kill him, and fucking calling him white boy, this, that, and the tower, whatever. But Manny Stewart said on the telecast, actually for, I think it was Jirov and Tony, that Tony still, when he was cruiserweight, was phoning Manny for sparring because he just used to love the wars, and he was like, I heard you have a new white boy in middleweight, I'm going to come down and spar him. And Manny's like, you're fucking 200 pounds weight, he was wanting to come down and spar Andy Lee, but it turns out that that's, at the yeah, exactly, 160, I think 160, but he was telling me that there used to be full on fights, but I didn't know that loads of them have been filmed, and you can see there's Kronk sparring footage of Jerry McClellan sparring Roy Jones, and there's Yeah, and then there's sparring footage of Tommy Hearns and Jerry McClellan sparring, which is really interesting. So I'm really interested in that kind of stuff. I love watching it. Like, there's famous sparring stories, of course, of Spence dropping Floyd. There was an Irish kid, I can't fucking remember his name. Steve, you'll know who I'm talking about. Dublin fighter that ended up in Vegas as Floyd's sparring partner.
That was Rob Gorman, broke his rib.
Yeah, apparently gave him a tough time sparring, so that's an interesting one. But sparring, like, I like the fighters who treat spars like a fight. Like, I mean, Dad used to be always kind of fucking hard on me when I was sparring when I was younger, like, because he used to be saying I was too nice. Like, he used to be saying, "Stop, there's no fucking such thing as a spar. Like, someone go take your head off. You have to fucking get there first. Like, you know what I mean? Don't be so nice." So I always like the fighters that had that attitude, to carry that into sparring. Glenn McCrory had some good ones about sparring with Tyson, being a fucking Tyson sparring partner, like, where he used to be just like to him, "I'm gonna fucking rip your head off, white boy." Like, fucking poor Glenn McCrory. No wonder he's on the fucking man. No wonder he's on the jar.
Psycho.
So yeah, stuff
Floyd
like that,
against Spadafora, the boys throwing into Floyd against Spadafora in the chat as well. It's an infamous one, wasn't it?
Yeah, they reckon Spadafora gave him the business. There's footage of that out there, isn't there?
Errol Spence apparently schooling Broner, and he's meant to have gave Floyd a tough time to the point that Floyd was like to Amir Khan, "You want to fight me, you need to fight Errol Spence first," because he knew Spence would probably walk through Khan at that point. I
remember that. Yeah, that was when he started to believe those gym stories.
Well, Valero was
the infamous Edwin Valero spar. Do you remember Valero? Wasn't it against Eric Morales?
No, mate. The other one he fought, he was an old champion back in the day. It's no Escandon. What's the fucking name?
Oh, a very good one. Fuck me, I can't think of his name now. Oscar opponent, Mexican, Fernando Vargas, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, Fernando Vargas. Robert Garcia told a brilliant one time that when he was younger, he sparred Yuri Boy Campos. And he fucking he was only like 15 or something, and then he was going for the Olympic trials or something, and Campos beat him up so bad in sparring that he made him cry. And fucking he said one day, like, he said the whole way home, one day I'm going to fuck him up his ass, like, and then ended up stopping him, I think, to win his world title. So that's a kind of a cool one. Yeah. And I heard Paddy Barnes was mean in the spar to a few lads as well. I heard Paddy Barnes was a very mean sparrer.
I didn't hear that now.
Yeah, I heard that a couple of times.
I remember seeing Terry Dunstan sparring Kevin Kingpin Johnson the once, and I tell you what, Johnson's jab was just thudding, booming around Breen's gym. Really, really good jab, Kingpin.
Another one. If you want to fucking highlight the disparity between female and male boxing, have a look at the spar of Katie Taylor and Rigondeaux on YouTube.
Oh yeah, that's enough. Levels.
She said it was like the spar of Ghost.
Steve, I found that name. It was Edwin Valero sparring, I don't know if you remember him, Urbano Antillon.
Oh yes, remember him, yeah.
He fought Soto and Rios and that. Now there's a spot, I think it was Freddie Hernandez was Valero's trainer at the time, and during the sparring session between one of the rounds and that, Valero walked out at Hernandez and says, "I'm going to knock him out this round." He says, "No mate," he says, we need him to kind of do his time, we need you to get rounds." And he says, "No, I'm going to knock him out. He went out there a minute later and absolutely iced him. I think it was a right hook actually, and the knees just went for him, and down to his knees he fell. He couldn't get back up. It was one of the most savage kind of KOs you'll see in sparring. They obviously got the heavy gloves on and stuff like that as well. But yeah, it was one of the things that always stuck in my mind. I'm going to knock him out. Goes out and does it next round. That guy was just a demon, an absolute demon. I know it was a sad ending, but if that guy had lived, it'd been amazing to see what he'd be able to achieve. I know would have
been a lot of sad endings for another.
I know, but I think the Pacquiao fight he would have got beat. I know that was getting touted next and stuff like that, but he was an absolute monster. Yeah. I know he wouldn't have went undefeated in that, but he would have went fucking close to it. Like,
it would have been a wild ride, wouldn't it?
Oh, it was till the end. I suppose it was a wild go. Yeah.
Absolutely. No, sparring that put people on notice to Edwin Valero. Quite the fighter. Let's move on with the questions then, Rob. One from Matt Dobson came in for you. Just bear with me. He said it's Hall of Fame inductees this week. This was a couple of weeks ago. He said, I'll say something controversial. Carl Frost should be very upset that Sugar Shane Mosley has been put in ahead of him. Shane was great to watch in his prime, but check his resume. Big wins versus Oscar and Margarito, albeit a Margarito who never had another big win again. That aside, the resume is pretty crap. He beat the B class guys generally. Lost to Vernon Forrest twice, Winky twice, Cotto, no shame in losing to Floyd, a smaller Pacquiao, then his loss record really kicked into gear. Froch may be a prick, but he fought the best back-to-back in the sort of run we probably won't see again in the modern era. Just
So did Mosley.
He lost in a great fight with Ward, but CV-wise, his career has more big wins and less baffling losses than Mosley's, yet he's been overlooked. Carl gets the nod ahead of Mosley without a doubt for me.
Oh, come on.
No, man, I'm not having that. I'm not having that. Shane Mosley was so amazing to watch in his prime. If you're talking about levels, he was fucking on it. And you could say about Cotto, I thought he won the Cotto fight. I didn't think Cotto fucking beat him decisively anyway. That was definitely a very close fight. Winky Wright and fucking Vernon Forrest were very good fighters, man. That's what happens. I'm not saying, Carl didn't beat good fighters along the way, but in his prime, Shane Mosley was a fucking hell of a fighter, absolute hell of a fighter, fought everybody. And I think that's why he deserves to go down in the Hall of Fame as well. You're talking about him fighting.
But did he beat everybody? He looked amazing against Antonio Diaz, against Shannon Taylor. He looked amazing against Adrian Stone. But did he look amazing against the best fighters on a consistent basis?
I think he got the best guys laid on though. Didn't he? He got Floyd when he was definitely past it. He got Pacquiao when he was past it. Canelo when he was past it.
Forrest twice in his prime.
He beat Oscar definitely once. Once, I can recall.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, beating Oscar in his prime, by the way, as well, and giving him and having fucking hell of a fights with him along the way.
And I'm
not having that. He shouldn't.
That first Vernon Forrest fight, he got badly hurt in that fight and never quit. And I know he lost it wide in the cars, but he went in again. And I know the drug situation is going to cast a cloud over some people on that as well. But if we're going to say that Carl Froch fought the best of his era, fair and well, but he also lost to the best of his era, right? Same with Mosley, but Mosley went in there with the top names of American fighting. Winky Wright, nobody wanted to fight him. He fought him twice back to back. Oscar De La Hoya fought him twice. Fernando Vargas, Cotto, Mayorga, Margarito, Floyd, probably when he is at his peak. Pacquiao. Come on, Shane Canelo as well when he was probably close to his coming up. That was when he was on the downslide. But as a guy coming up as a light, was he a lightweight?
And a lot of people touted Canelo to stop Mosley as well, and he couldn't stop him. And Pacquiao too.
Great chin. So did Froch as well. But I'm not saying. I just think people kind of. Froch had a great career. I'm not disputing that. But he also, think about it. His biggest victory is George Groves in front of 80,000 people. A domestic fight. He hasn't got one signature name as at elite level. He hasn't got Andre Ward. He got a faded Kessler. What's his best win? Lucien Boutte.
Jermaine Taylor. He lost to Durrell as well, I think. Jermaine Taylor was a good winner.
I think they're all great wins, to be honest, for Froch. I'm no Froch fan, really, but I think he
I'm giving him his credit, but I think he will be inducted eventually. But to say that he should feel aggrieved because Shane Mosley's in ahead of him is a bit of a stretch to me.
Let me put it this way: Nigel Benn down the list. I think he's second ballot now, isn't he? Now, you try to tell me that Nigel Benn's win against Gerald McClelland isn't as good as anything on Carl Froch's list. By the way, that win is the top British win of probably the last 20-30 years, in my opinion. Gerald McClelland, regardless of what happened afterwards, was a fucking beast coming into that fight. Froch never fought anything like that, by the way.
But Froch's run of consistency is consistency of names, though. I'm just playing devil's advocate. I thought Mosley was amazing at the turn of the century, but he was amazing against lesser guys. I have sympathy for Matt's argument, I'll be honest with you.
Okay, I've pulled up his record here. So 2003, he fought Raul Marquez, Oscar De La Hoya. 2004, he fights Winky Wright twice. 2005, he fights David de Estrada, Jose Cruz. 2006, he fights Fernando Vargas twice. 2007, he fights Luis Collazo, Miguel Cotto. 2008, he fights Ricardo Mayorga, and then in 2009, he fights Antonio Margarito. At that point, people were saying he was washed, and he fights Margarito, and at that point, he waited on the shelf for over, I think it was the best part of 18 months, and he got the Floyd fight, and he came right out of the blue. We're all thinking, oh yes, and then he lands that punch, he makes everybody a believer, he's going to pull it off, and then he had nothing left. Maybe it was something to do with drug tests, because I think that was one of the first fights as well that Floyd insisted on drug testing, I think. And Mosley was kind of moaning about, it was woken up at 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm not saying, but as I say, I think there's a debate to be had. They all fought top fighters, but I think the fighters that Mosley fought compared to what Froch fought, was far higher.
Anything to add, Rob? Don't think so. Let's move on. I think I've got another question for you guys. I'm just trying to bring it up now if my computer will load. Right, Andy, we'll get to you on this one. This is from Ryan Deal. He said, fight of the decade for me is a toss-up between Miura and Vargas or Kovalev versus Ward 1, with Inoue versus Donaire getting some late recognition. I wouldn't necessarily say Inoue versus Donaire was fight of the decade material, but there you go. I don't know if you guys have had any chance to think about fight of the decade. I did mention it during the week. No problems if you haven't. I've got the Ring magazine list up in front of me. You can comment on any of these as and when I read them out if you wish. 2010 fight of the year was Giovanni Segura knocking out Ivan Calderon in the 8th round. 2011 fight of the year was Victor Ortiz defeating Andre Berto. 2013 was Timothy Bradley, excellent fight against Ruslan Provodnikov. 2014, Lucas Matisse knocking out John Molina in the 11th round. Then 2015, a fight that Ryan mentioned, Francisco Vargas knocking out Takashi Miura in the 9th round. 2016 was the second fight between Francisco Vargas and Orlando Salido, which Vargas won on a majority. 2017, one of my favourite fights. I really enjoyed Anthony Joshua against Vladimir Klitschko. It had a bit of everything. And 2018, Saul Canelo Alvarez majority decision win over Gennady Golovkin. 2019 has yet to be decided. So, fight of the decade, any you want to mention?
Inoue Donaire got it, I think.
Oh, did it win it? Right, okay,
I think, well, they got the Ring magazine one at least. I think so.
Yeah, that's the list. Okay, fair enough. I didn't realise that.
Yeah, Vargas Moura was good. Vargas Salido was good. Victor Ortiz against Andre Berto, that was a good fight. Segura Calderon, I remember that fight. Concepcion against Hernan Marquez, especially the first fight was really good. Tim Bradley against Ruslan Provodnikov, he went to hell and back in that fight. I'm going to put in the 4th fight between Pacquiao and Marquez just for the pure ending in it. By the way, that was probably fitting of any fight of the decade, actually, considering the impact on it, because it really put the jeopardy, really put the Floyd Mayweather fight in jeopardy, and Pacquiao was called into question if he was still priming that. Probably Lucas Matisse, I think was it John Molina, I think it was, turned into a decent fight as well.
Yeah, MB in the chat. Andy says that wins it for him.
That one, though, it's definitely up there. I see your point with Klitschko and Joshua. I didn't like the suggestion last year's fight of the year. There was the rematch between Canelo and Golovkin. That just doesn't sit right with me. The one, was it the one that fought the fight in Poland? I can't remember the names now, but there was like something like fucking 50,000 knockdowns in the fight or something.
Robert
like
Talarek against somebody. There was about 8 knockdowns, wasn't there?
Something like that. Aye. So
I think they would have announced that as well before Wilder Fury last year, wouldn't they? It's like Wilder Fury is clearly fucking better than Golovkin and Canelo. Like,
aye. What other fights of the year? Fighters of the decade, fights of the decade. Try to think. There's obviously other ones I'm fucking forgetting at the minute. Segura,
well, here, Andy, while you're thinking about them, let me just say I've got a few notes here, because obviously we're talking 10 years ago, 2010, the boxing landscape was quite different from now. So in 2010, Mayweather-Pacquiao was close to being nailed down, but of course it wouldn't actually happen for another 5 years in 2015. And some of the top fighters in 2010, some things, as much as they change, stay the same. Manny Pacquiao was one of the pound-for-pound top fighters, so was Floyd Mayweather, so was Shane Mosley, Juan Manuel Marquez, Paul Williams, Sergio Martinez, Miguel Cotto, the Klitschko brothers, and the man himself, Bad Chad Dawson.
Yeah, there you go. Cotto Margarito, first fight. Back in, was it 08, I think it was. That was a monumental war, by the way. It's just,
what year was that?
Going to be denied. 2008. Oh, sorry, it's 2010 we're talking about. I'm a couple of years, fucking hell.
Jason Chukwu says KO of the decade was right at the start. Paul Williams versus Sergio Martinez. The rematch, two people.
That was a cracker, yeah.
Iced,
Andy Lee, John Jackson one is not far off there either for knockout of the decade.
Overriding memories from you, Rob. Things have changed. HBO are no longer with us. Streaming is all the rage now.
Yeah, that's the sad one for me. I've spoken about that loads on the pod. Like, I really miss HBO. Like, I never thought I'd say it, but I really do. Like, it's gone to the point where, like, HBO used to have their agendas too, but at least they weren't as blatant with it. Like, where they're cheerleading for the guy, like in most cases anyway. And if they weren't as bad as ESPN and Sky. It's fucking shocking. Like, so that's one big difference. The heavyweights obviously is another big difference. There's a lot more interest in the heavyweights now. The Klitschko's are kind of departed, so that's a big change. Floyd obviously leaving the sport. That's another big change. You're waiting for. Because regardless of whether you loved or hated Floyd, those big events, those big fights made it interesting. Like, everybody was talking about him, so it was kind of fucking. It's a pity. All good things come to an end, and he got out, and he's. He kind of he was at it for the last 6 fights, like with his fucking contract and all that. But it definitely provided good entertainment within the decade. But I kind of I don't know, I kind of need a few pointers and stuff. The ears all roll into each other, like Andy just said with Cotto and Margarito. Look, it's hard, yeah.
Okay, boys, we shall move on before Belly of the Weeks and getting out of here.
I've got one.
Oh, go on, Andy. Yep.
Gonzalez against Estrada. Roman Gonzalez against Juan Estrada, the first fight. That was a really good technical battle, but that it was, if you want to see like if anybody thinks Estrada's top level, watch Roman Gonzalez in his prime against him in the first fight. Tremendous.
Lomachenko Linares is brilliant as well. Like,
yeah, high level shit, man.
For high level shit, yeah, that's a belter. Like,
I'm sure if you're going back to 11, 12, 13, there must be loads of great fights that we've forgotten now, wouldn't there be?
Yeah, there would need to be, mate. I mean, as I say, I thought Margarito, and that was 2010 against Cotto, but
yeah.
As I say, Tim Bradley, as I say, was involved in a few exciting fights around about that time frame as well. I think who was the one that Khan fought? Marcus Maidana.
Yeah, Take Ames has thrown that one in. Yeah, MB says Omar Figueroa against Arakawa as well.
Both fights were good too. The two Ward Kovalev fights were very good fights. Like.
Try to think what else we got. Try to think domestically. No, it's too late. I was going to say Moore Macklin, but that was like before 2010, wasn't it?
That was 6, I think, wasn't it?
Was it 2006? Oh man.
The French Groves fights were exciting. The first fight, they were big fights. Yeah, first fight was very exciting.
Kawasaki Kessler was decent because you could see Kawasaki.
That would have been, but that would have been 7. Wasn't that 7? That was 2007.
Yeah, he's got a while. Big Joe, kiss the muscles.
Right, I'm going to say Hernan Marquez Luis Concepcion. I bet I'm out with that one as well. Actually, I bet that was post pre-2010. I bet you.
Well, I tell you what, for anybody who's listening, if you want to give us your sparring stories, your fight of the decades, or Mosley versus Froch debate opinions, anything that we've discussed tonight, leave it below the line on YouTube and I'll read out the best ones whenever we return in the new year, because I'm sure the guys will be thinking of some that we've forgotten about. We'll move on then, gentlemen, to the final preview of the weekend. This one is going ahead, where are we? Atlanta, Georgia, State Farm Arena, Saturday the 28th of December. Hopefully Gervonta Davis hasn't had too much Christmas turkey and he's in fighting shape against Yuriorkis Gamboa. Could be a fun fight for as long as it lasts. Vacant bullshit WBA belt is on the line. Also, Jean Pascal goes in against Badu Jack, WBC silver and some other shite as well. Jose Uzcatagi's on the card as well. Andy, we go to you first on this one. Gervonta Davis against Gamboa. Is Gamboa too far gone, or does he still have the speed at this weight to be able to give Davis problems?
Well, he's doing a wee bit of run of victories and stuff, but I don't know. Rob, what are you doing, mate? Sit-ups. That was brutal. Oh man, I hope she was alive at least. So he's come back. I know, again, he's had a few comeback fights and stuff and that, and he's kind of had a few wins and stuff, but at this point in his career, Davis to me is at his peak, at prime. Although it's not going to last for much longer, I don't think, considering how he kind of dumps the weight and that. He can only do it for so long at that age, and then it's going to catch up with you. But I expect Davis to knock him out, and I'm going to go for about 6 rounds actually. I don't think Gamboa's got the dog in him at all anymore. No interest. He's looking for paydays and stuff. So, and plus as well, you're not going to stick your biggest, one of your upcoming stars in with a fighter you didn't think you're not going to beat, unless Floyd's seen something that I've not seen. So, no, I'm expecting Davis to look good doing it. Actually, he'll be aggressive. It is a southpaw against an orthodox, I think, as well. So that might be problematic. I don't think so for Gamboa. He's probably seen a lot of styles like that in the amateurs and that, but I just don't think he's in it anymore. And there's been obviously his own allegations in the past about doing PEDs and visiting anti-aging clinics in Florida or whatever it was and stuff. But If you look at his record kind of in the last few fights, I mean, he's kind of eked out a decision against Jason Sosa, Miguel Beltran, who, honestly, we've seen him fight earlier on this year, and that he got iced in one round, and then he's come back and he's beat a washed, shall we say, Rocky Martinez, actually, one that Burns beat all the years ago in 2 rounds. So, nah, man, I think at this point it's Gervonta Davis. He's gonna look fantastic doing it and stuff. So I'm going to say 6 rounds for G-Dog. But I think for him in that as well, as he's talking about moving up permanently to lightweight after this one, obviously with the belt and that. So Lomachenko, he's talking about Lopez fights pretty much close to being done. No signed and dusted yet, but that Davis fight is going to be kind of itching his mind in that as well. So I would like to see that fight at some point. But business is business. It's got to get straightened out first. But Davis, to me, he needs to get his shit under control, man. He really needs to get that weight sorted out. He can't keep dumping that. It's just like Ricky Hatton, man. At some point, it's going to come calling, and you need to move up permanently, and he's just going to go up too far, and he's going to catch up with you. Unless you are an extremely skilled defensive fighter or with defensive capabilities, going up in weight just isn't going to be the greatest thing for your career, and it's going to end up kind of coming up short at some point.
Rob Gamboa, obviously eminently talented. He's on a 4-fight winning streak, including a knockout of Roman Martinez, who looked like he didn't want to be there. But he's too high in weight, and he's 38 years of age. I think we've seen the best of Gamboa come and go. Can he give a scare like he did against Crawford? Maybe try and hurt Davis, or is this going to be one-way traffic?
Well, I think the thing about Davis that you have to take into consideration and never forget is that this little fucker is not living the life. Like, you're partying around with Adrian Broner, with what's the big tall guy that hangs out with Broner all the time? Disappointing fucking... What's his name?
Robert Easter.
Robert Easter Jr., the Charlos. You're not living the life, like, and he's blatantly not living the life the way he's ballooning up in weight in between fights. So there is the possibility that that's going to catch up on him. He's obviously gone up in weight now. How he was making fucking 126, I don't know, but he's up there now. I'd expect Gamboa to be able to move him around for a couple of rounds before he gets to him, but I do think when he lands on him, he's going to flatten him, because I think Davis is a right good fighter. I said it before, when he's in the ring, I think he's brilliant. Like, I love watching him. I think he always goes for the knockout. He's a bit petulant. He showed, remember on the Floyd McGregor undercard, I think he showed like extreme petulance in one of the fights. He doesn't seem like the brightest chap in the world. Like, he seems very kind of naive and stuff, like, and he's in the limelight, so there's a lot of pressure on him. But I think he's in a fight where he's been matched to win, and win well against the name and move on. But it's interesting that Lomachenko actually called him out. So for all the talk of Lomachenko, he's actually calling Tank out. He's like, all right, you're coming up. Let's get it on. Like, you're the fight I want. So don't think we're going to see that fight at all. I think Tevin Farmer probably could have given him some problems as well. That fight didn't happen. So I don't know. I think he's going to be matched very well in the next year if he is active. I don't think you're going to see him in against any killers, and you're just going to see him stretch guys for between now and the end of 2020.
Andy, any interest briefly before Belly of the Week's on Pascal Brown? No, not Brown. Badu Jack. Sorry, Brown obviously is their common opponent. I think Heyman's just seen an opportunity to throw a couple of guys together here. Yeah,
I'll probably get a couple of paydays and that as well. It's sad to see, actually. I know it kind of came out of the blue, but Pascal's done. And Jack, as we've all mentioned before, that he just seems to kind of do enough to win a fight sometimes. And I know he's got a number of victories in his record, but 3 draws, 2 defeats and stuff suggests that there's just he needs to kind of up it a wee bit. Pascal might be dangerous for a few rounds early doors and stuff, especially if he gets wild and that. But I think it's got distance written all over it, and I know Pascal, he's not been stopped for a few fights and stuff. I think it was Kovalev was his last toughest defeat and stuff, but Bivol kind of played with him and stuff, and Alvarez, who beat him as well, was closest, but he lost the fight. But I can see Jack winning out on points. I'm going to go something like 115, 113 or something, 116, 112, but I can see it being a bone fight in all honesty, because, as I say, Pascal's washed. Jack does nothing to float my boat. I see Uskatagi's on the card and that as well, and it's filled other way, kind of bottom fillers and that. So yeah, I mean, I want to see Davis. I might watch Pascal and Cesar Juarez, who is that the guy that Dogbo beat by any chance? See, he's fighting an undefeated fighter as well. I don't know who he is or how good he's going to be in that, but I'm thinking that he's pretty decent if he's going to be fighting a guy like Juarez, who's, I don't know if he's an ex-world champion, but he's certainly mixed with some kind of decent level competition like Chavez Jr. and Donaire and all that, for what I can recall, and obviously Dubois and that. So yeah, I think he'll probably look good in that, but Juarez is probably kind of past his kind of peak at this point. What is he now? What weight is that? Bantamweight, super bantamweight. But I'll look forward to main event at least.
Yeah, Lee the Alcoholic Fudge says, excuse me, Jack versus Pascal got to be a draw, surely. Jack, as Andy says, just does enough to not win a fight. He'll get into a decent rhythm. And then against Adonis Stevenson, for example, got caught with a cracking body shot, and then that swayed it this way and that. I think he's a very solid, capable fighter, but he just doesn't seem to impress the judges. And as for Pascal, he strikes me as one of these guys who's going to keep going for a bit longer, and he's probably going to end up taking too many punches, I think. Jason Chuckrew taking a few shots in the chat. He's there with MB, Tosh, all the boys. Good to have you with us on this episode 354. Rob's still with us, so's Andy. We're going to be finishing up now. Belly of the Weeks. First one coming in from Declan Graffin for Julio Cesar Chavez nomination for the fake Chavez. I only have a few on my phone here, so I'm sure there's a load that I haven't screenshotted, Andy, so you might have a few that I don't. But you're liking that nomination for Chavez anyway. He's going to have to be a front runner this week.
Without question, mate. I mean, to actually then, as I say, is complain about headbutts and about getting your nose broken when you're just probably complaining that you can't snort cocaine for the next fucking 6 weeks until the shit fucking heals, Yeah, man, it's sad to see. As I say, his dad will be absolutely raging with him that he's probably back at his mum, probably slap the shit out of his mum again, actually saying, "Where's the fucking DNA test, bitch?"
Shake Edwards said Josh Taylor's new ring walk attire may cause a stir. #Grand Wizard. Talk Sport. We're reporting no excuses. World boxing champion Josh Taylor apologises after pleading guilty to racially abusing a nightclub bouncer. And then a picture of the Grand Wizard next to him. It's not Gabe. Greg Cross. I know you've probably received loads, but Bellew of the Week for Josh Taylor. Guillermo Quitondo.
Josh seems to have very conflicted. He seems to have very conflicted political views, doesn't he? They're aligning him with the EDL and the IRA. He's all over the shop, man. He's fucking on both. He could be schizophrenic.
Well, if he's a Scottish nationalist supporter, then he's probably borderline IRA supporter as well, or Sinn Féin, shall we say, because they're both chiefs the same arse they too, by the way. Yeah,
but then he's got the polar opposite on the other corner, so maybe he's got like love and hate on his hands. You know what I mean? Josh.
Good old Josh, trying to offend everybody. Guillermo Quitondo has nominated Michael Buffer, telling people to tune in tonight to watch one of his favourite fighters in action. Who's one of his favourite fighters, you might ask? Liam fucking Smith. I don't think it's Michael Buffer tweeting out from that account. No Consent Boxing has nominated. We're going meta here. We're going meta here, Andy. No Consent Boxing has nominated No Ducks Boxing. No Ducks Boxing labelled Josh Taylor a disgusting human being after being accused of racially abusing a nightclub bouncer, while also tweeting Errol Spence, back in the gym, strong motherfucker dude, thanks and wish you the best on the comeback. No Consent Boxing nominating No Ducks Boxing there. It's all going down. Hamed was in the chat earlier. He's been nominated for Bellew of the Week, says Hamed. Bellew's wins over Hay were better than any of Wilder's wins at heavyweight. No. He didn't stop there. He went on. He said if Carl Froch is in the Hall of Fame, does that mean the bomber Tony Bellew should be? His wins over Makabu, Cleverly, Chilemba, 2 times Hay, surely that's Hall of Fame worthy. Delete your life, said many people, including the
we'll never
Tommy Allen.
Ken, something.
The boys are throwing.
See if people use the yardstick of Wilder's age because Deontay Wilder knocked him out in that. Right, okay, fair and well. How come the other top heavy wanted to fight him? How come Joshua didn't fight him? If he's that old and he was highly ranked, surely it's another tickle, it's another feather in your nest. Why did Fury no fight him? How was he doing to Wilder at one point? And by the way, I just say something, when he signed up to fight Wilder the first time, people were like, wow, Wilder's actually stepping up and fighting him. Because he actually believed that he had a chance, and he was winning the fight day as well, shall we say. So let's just no fucking rewrite history, because there's a lot of that going on these days. And that you want to fit your own narrative, it's just sad to see, man. Because at the end of the day is this, Joshua went into that rematch with Ruiz as well, made changes to his own benefit, But let's not fucking forget as well, as he was fighting a guy badly out of shape, and he was fighting scared. Now, if that is going to be the Joshua coming forward, just remember as well, as he's shouting Fury for using that same tactic for fighting Klitschko, right? You do what you do to win a fight, regardless of age and regardless of what fucking talent you've got. If you would knock a guy out, good and well. But for Christ's sake, guys, stop using his fucking age as some sort of excuse to beat him down with, right? Because put it as this, there was no other, I say again, there was no other top heavyweight, ranked top heavyweight willing to fight Leos Ortiz, to the point that Eddie Hearn signed him for some odd reason. Why? Nobody wanted to fight him. They done it twice, and the first time, by the way, did it emphatically. But nah, man, we'll just shit on him for that reason, eh? And I'm not a big Wilder fan, by the way, I must admit. But come on, you stop dogging the guy, man. Because as I say, nobody wanted to fight the dude, but he fucking done it, and he done it emphatically, as I say, twice. So come on, give him his due.
Give him his due, says Andy. Hamed getting nominated there. NBT Boxing has been nominated by Blue Eyed Boy. So I rewatched the £140 World Boxing Super Series final, says NBT Boxing, and scored it 120-108 in favour of Prograis. He got 108 likes for that. I'm assuming he must have paid for them. Prime Type Myson, amongst many other people, have nominated Michael Thompson. Michael said, Canelo gave up his light heavyweight belt, so here's my idea. If Joshua gives up his WBO belt and Usyk wins it, Canelo versus Usyk for the belt. Canelo goes for a heavyweight title. Usyk isn't a giant heavyweight. He fights at around 210 to 215. Canelo can fight at 200 pounds, can't he? Roy Jones did it. So Michael Thompson.
I've got another one, Steve.
But
just Hamed in the chat there. Hamed in the chat there, right? Okay, Ortiz knocked back the fight for Joshua. That was his team. They fucked it up. But can I just say, see if that fight had happened and Joshua knocked him out, you should be all over the fact is that Joshua fucking knocked him out and beat him. So if it did happen, would you all be getting waxing lyrical and using that niche he used to kind of beat down Wilder way? So if Joshua fought him, it'd be a top win for him, right? Am I right in saying that, Hamed? I'll wait for your response in the chat. Would it have been a top win if Joshua had fought Ortiz and knocked him out? Would it be a top win for him? Come on.
Waiting for Hamed to respond.
Put it in the chat, Hamed.
Go.
I know there's a fucking wee delay here, but come on. Put it in the chat. If Joshua beats Ortiz, I think Povetkin, Park and Pulev are better than Ortiz. That's not the question, Hamed. If Joshua had beat Ortiz, would it be a good win for him? Come on.
While he's doing that, Andy, let me throw in a couple for Bunty here. Paco says on the 5 Live podcast, Joshua Ruiz weigh-in. Bunty says that Ruiz has a back like a slab of granite, pure muscle. Then in the aftermath calls him a fat mess.
No answer it.
And
Ortiz is overrated. His biggest fight was Wilder, lost twice. All opinions. That's not the question, Ortiz. Hamed, sorry. That's not the question. I asked you specifically. Joshua fighting Ortiz at the time that fight was offered, if he'd beat him, is it a top win for him? Yeah, top 10 win, but he's not even. There we go, that's all you needed to say. All you need to say. Forget your fucking excuses, alright? Just leave it at that.
Hamed already there on the list. Bunty as well, second one for him coming in from Judas. Bunty rating Teofimo Lopez at number 5 pound for pound. Any from you, Rob? Any nominations this week, episode 354?
No, but I would just like to say definitely having a second child is after Mello and Andy out. Expect to see a more Zen guru in the future.
Oh my god,
Congratulations to the big guru and Cindy on their new arrival.
Guru Jr, man, I can't just imagine it. The Asian version kicking about. Oh
the
my
Asian
god.
version of the Guru Jr, man. Oh my god.
Can you imagine a 6'6" Guru Jr with tied jeans in him, man? Jesus Christ.
Eddie, get the checkbook out now, man. Get it out early.
Oh dear me.
Any others, boys, to throw in? The lads are going on about Bellew of the Decade in the chat. I'll read them out in a minute. Any other nominations first of all?
I've got one for Kilbrook. Basically saying different animal 154, Eddie Hearn and Kilbrook. This is an IFL TV, by the way, so see if they won his 154 debut. Different animal 154. Eddie Hearn and Kilbrook send message to Errol Spence and Jamel Charlo, right? So a year later, Kilbrook returns against Mark DeLuca in Sheffield with Terry Harper and Dave Allen on the undercard. 154 is a notice, baby. Did anybody catch Errol Spence's interview on Fox before the Harrison Charlo fight? Jesus Christ, man!
It. He didn't smile or anything, did he? So he can't show his smashed teeth.
I think he's got new dentures and that, but my word, dude, he's talking about I was a car crash interview. Like, he's talking about, like, say, you know, it happened to him, no, because of him. Basically, you know, it was like, gee, God saved me. I'm saying to myself, this is a typical southern wanker. This God-fearing cretins, by the way. It's got fuck all to do with God, man. You came out this roof of a sports car at 150 mile an hour and lived because you were fucking full of Hennessy and probably barbiturates, like fucking Leonardo DiCaprio was like in fucking, what do you call it? Wolf of Wall Street, trying to bring back the Lamborghini, and I thought he'd got it back home safely, and then he wakes up in the morning and sees it's absolutely smashed to fucking bits because he fucking drove it all over the place like a fucking reptile. And he's like, he's out with, well, you know, I can't talk about it because it's in the hands of my lawyers. Well, what the fuck did you interview then? Because that's the main question we want to ask you. What the fuck are you coming out the club at 150 mile an hour with a bottle of Hennessy and some barbiturates in your fucking back pocket, bitch?
It was a PR interview, wasn't it? I think a return interview.
What he said about Brian Kenny. Did I see what he put about Brian Kenny? He said, he goes, Brian Kenny's in the DA. He was asking him all the questions about, can you talk about your court case, Errol? You want to tell us how much time you're facing there for? And we're going to show you the car flipping down the street, by the way, just in case you hadn't. Hope you're not suffering from any PTSD. Here it is in the background.
Going Ayrton Senna, friggin' hell.
Drive safely.
Oh man, it's bad.
Flip the corners better than Senna.
Oh man, Senna was my guy, but just Christ.
Liking that Hennessy reference, Andy. Mick Hennessy saving careers all over again.
Oh man, but as I say, you know, he talked like it was God that it happened to him. It wasn't because of what he did.
No,
in the club,
no,
you
it
know,
wasn't because you were. It wasn't because you were hanging on stage with the rapper called Da Baby hours beforehand, before you drove your Lambo down the strip. It was nothing to do with that. Whatever you were doing in that club had no effect on your car. Flipping down the street like fucking Die Hard. Oh man.
Oh my! Listen, hopefully fights again, but it's going to be interesting to see like where he's at. I think he'll be telling who the opponent is going to be, who he fights. I think he said May or June next year is going to return.
June.
The opponent, the opponent is going to be tell us where he's at, and even then, I'm still sceptical because, man, as I say, okay, he's probably been saved because he's been legless, and you know it's just probably saved him. Because I've heard stories for firemen and that, for example, a girl walking along the street, pissed as a fart, fell through a manhole cover. And you think you should break her back, break her leg, and that? No, she twisted her ankle. That was it. Because
it's because your body doesn't
smashed.
tense up, isn't it, Andy? Isn't it because your body's relaxed or something, and it doesn't?
Yeah. It's just that kind of goes that kind of, you know, kind of like funny state, just kind of relaxes itself and stuff. You know, it's easy how you go to sleep in that. You know, you fall away nice and easy on the drugs and stuff like that. That's just what happened to him, eh? But there's got to be something.
But a doctor must have. A doctor must have signed him off, you know, to say that he's able to come back. It'd be mad if he threw a jab against somebody and his arm fell off. I mean, he must be medically fit.
In America, you've got to pay for your health insurance, so I think you can fucking pay it off, no problem. I think somehow earlier, money talks at the end of the day.
They might sue them though if something happens to him and he's not fit. You know what they're like. I don't know. I'm just guessing.
I know, just speculating, but that's what they needed in this situation. But no, it was in a bad way, like very bad way.
Well, he's not that bad. He's going to get a title tonight because I'm nominating him I'm going to vote for him, I think, for Belly of the Week. That's a strong entry, Andy. Who are you going for?
Yeah, I'm going to go for Spence. What a mess, man. Probably Brian Kenny as well. He was a disgrace, that full interview and that full...
Didn't he ask him the same question over and over again, the boys were saying, or something?
He was trying to change it up a wee bit, trying to kind of like reword it and that, and Spence is coming back saying, I felt like I was getting, you know, interrogated by the DA and all that sort of stuff. Aye, right, okay, mate. Fucking hell, I think the police lawyers and that will having a good chance with you and that, so it's not like the DA with him, like, fuck's sake.
Who are you going for, Rob? We're both going for Spence, so it doesn't really matter who you're going for, but throw one in. Who's your vote?
Yeah, no, it's got to be Spence. Like, it's got to be Spence. Fucking hell, man. Unbelievable. Well, especially when and fucking PBC or Fox or whoever the fuck it was that decided they were going to show the car coming down the street again. Like, because if you needed that, like, for fuck's sake, that was bad. Like.
I'm going to have to watch that. Sounds good. Congratulations, Errol Spence. You are the belly of the week for 354. Go on, Andy.
No, it's alright, mate. I'm just going to reopen up can of worms. I can't be bothered this time of night anymore.
No, it's okay. Errol Spencer's won. Good man, Errol. Belly of the Decade. A few of the boys throwing some in again below the line. YouTube, if you want to throw Belly of the Decades in, you can. I'm not going to go through the old ones and go through them. I'm sure the boys can't be arsed either. Devon Alexander has been nominated by MB, Belly of the Decade, for Stretched Anus Gate. Who else have we got here then? Hamid. He's chatting away there.
He's talking to himself, is he? I bet he's still trying to Hamid's still trying to justify why he thinks Povetkin, Parker and Pulev's all better than Ortiz. He's still talking to himself about that.
Yusuf Mack Andy's been nominated for Bellew of the Decade as well. Another Stretched Anus incident. Ortiz as well for Victor
Hamid,
Ortiz picking up the
Hamid
women.
All opinions. Ortiz has never won a title. Well, there's fucking Pulev. So what the fuck are you talking about? You're saying that Pulev's better than Ortiz? Pulev's never won a title. Is that what you're basing it on? You got win titles these days. Fuck's sake, man. There was great fighters in the past who fucking Sam Langford, for example, fucking great fighter, Hall of Famer, ATG, never won a world title though. Does that fucking make the be all and end all these days? A fucking fake ABC belt? Fuck off.
Maurice Hooker, Grand Theft Auto, getting nominated Bellew of the Decade. Conor Ben's beard at the British Hair Clinic as well is a strong one. Hamed getting dropped by Andy, says Jason Chucker. This will run and run. Maybe we'll get you on in the new year, Hamed, and you can come on and debate us if you want. Any other business, guys, or should we close up for 2019?
There's only one for Bellew of the Decade, man. There's only one for Bellew of the Decade, and that's Adam Smith in the fucking Manchester Arena. Like, yes. It has to be him. Like, that was the greatest Bellew of all time. Like, there's no doubt about it, man. How did he say that? Like, even now looking back now, that was definitely one of my highlights of fucking. Was that 2019?
Who was that?
When fucking Adam Smith said,
the bomber.
The bomber. No way related to the terror attacks in Manchester tonight.
What about Tim Lane as well? Tim Lane for Chris Algieri coming out the cage and then he gets knocked down.
Yeah, that was brilliant. That was up there. Like, but Adam Smith, what was going through his mind? Like, oh my God, like, how the fuck did he? Like Ozzy said that night, I'll never forget it. He was like, who the fuck's sitting at home thinking that bastard Tony Bellew is a fucking jihadi or something? Like, holy shit. Oh man. Especially
and a special mention to Floyd.
Stance on crime.
Special mention to Floyd for his dress sense, and of course the man himself, Tony Bellew, has given us so many great moments over the last 10 years.
Leave him alone.
Not in the ring so much.
Yeah, the man himself he's after having a fucking blinder for the last. He's come on strong in the fourth quarter, hasn't he, Tony Bellew, for a fella that want to be left alone? Like, fucking hell.
Lee the Alcoholic Fotch says Victor Ortiz has had a mare of a decade, quitting all the time, being a rapist. He's had a pretty awful decade, all things considered.
Dancing with the Stars.
Getting knocked out by Floyd. Yeah. Teddy Atlas.
Never saw fellas happy to get knocked out as him that night. Never saw fellas as just delighted to get knocked out. And under those circumstances, claim him.
Floyd selling double glazing, remember that?
Yeah, the Windows Floyd.
They killed him online for that, didn't they? It was fucking brilliant.
Or Floyd dressed up with that red fucking costume he had on, remember? With the fucking riding boots and that. I remember that came out with the comment that, can you imagine that him dressing red with a fucking black Lambo and a white interior looked like a fucking Neapolitan ice cream box.
That spawned Hater Dave's I'm a dog, I'm a gorilla Floyd impression.
That's right.
I'm a
dog, I'm a
Donny?
I've done anal in response to 7-year anal from Al Bernstein.
I've done anal.
He was on the zinger there as well,
boys.
until we broke down. Like he had one ready to go. Like it was like, what? Hold on. And he's talking to his wife. Donnie's telling us fucking just done.
How could they believe that shit live on air?
Oh man.
Steve, we still live, eh?
Yeah, we're still live, yeah.
Alright, okay.
We haven't finished yet.
Shit there, Alright, better watch what we're saying then, eh?
Bit of a bonus there for the listeners, Andy. Bit of a bonus. That's what we usually talk about when we're off air.
Aye, Donnie doing anal.
Post-pod's hat.
Right, boys, let's finish up then. Thanks for everybody coming on. Thanks to Rapping Rob Kelly, Ozzy Smith, Andy Patterson. Take Ames as well, who offered to come on if the numbers were low. We will call on you in the future, Ames. Don't think you've got away with it just yet. all is left for me to say thank you for sticking with us through 2019. We'll see you all again in 2020. Have a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, all of those things. I've been Steve Wellings. We'll catch you all again for episode 355 sometime in January. Who knows where, who knows when. You'll hear us at some point. Bye.